Looking back, 2025 has been one of the most impactful years we've ever had on this show.
What I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity.
And we're learning more about the New Year's Day explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck that happened right outside of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
This is not a political debate. This is a spiritual struggle. Creation versus destruction.
When I started this, the goal was simple. Give people a place to tell their story.
I'm just like laying on the ground in the dirt, looking to my left. I'm dead, but I'm proud of what I've done and who I am. I'm gonna die here on the dirt in Afghanistan.
This year, we went deeper than I ever expected, and that took us beyond the studio, traveling abroad, sitting down with world leaders in places like Taiwan.
No person or no country is too small to deserve freedom.
Having firsthand conversations about global threats, deterrence, and the future of warfare.
You can see through walls, you can see through night, you can see through fog. You are Superman.
Some of these stories were heavy.
764 Group focuses on extreme violence towards children.
These are wounds incompatible with life. Did I know? Did I not know? 2 out of the 5 males were kids.
And I was the guy that was supposed to help him.
I wish my wife was here to see this.
Others were hopeful.
My advice is just be yourself, be authentic, be raw, just let all the wounds show.
It is a battle that will end, and it's a battle we already know who won.
You're not defined by your failures. You're defined by what you do every day.
You went through some tough stuff. Think about it sometimes. It's hard. And that's okay, man. That's okay.
All of God's angels don't sing in the choir. Some of them are warriors.
Pointing towards innovation, preparedness, and what comes next for America and its allies.
There is going to be this unholy union between radicals that both come to the same conclusion. No one can be trusted. Everyone is the enemy.
To the SRS community, thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. We just want to bring hope to the world and show that there's a way out of the downward spiral. You have never lived until you've almost died. For those who fought for it, life has a special flavor that the protected will never know.
Amen.
These are the moments from 2025 that defined the year.
I said, hey, your previous messages haven't come through. What do you want to tell me? And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity. Okay, a little bit dramatic. I get these messages all the time. People have this big story they want to tell. They want to expose their command, whatever. I take everything with a grain of salt until I have evidence and proof.
Do you want to read the email?
Yep. So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPCEN, that's Operation Center, our OPCEN location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive VBID. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a VBID was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word VBID. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a VBID, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a VBID is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive VBID. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with, redacted, IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion, 10th Special Forces Group. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that. And how I responded to him was in a subsequent email. I said, this is obviously a very big deal, but I don't have anything to verify this information with. Talking about gravitic propulsion systems without evidence just makes me another UFO talking head. Like, I'm not going to go on my social media page and start talking about UFOs and anti-gravity systems and everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. And he said, can I get on Fox News Contact on Signal as well as Sean's show? Hegseth would be good too. That was his last message to me.
I mean, it's very obvious why he did this, I think. He wanted to bring attention to the incident in 2019 that got covered up. Do you have any insight, any theories on this?
So we had a running theory downstairs. I've seen all of the conspiracies. I've seen all the questions about, all right, this guy is what, 20-year Special Forces. He just got done with Team Sergeant time. He is a very qualified and very capable Green Beret. Everybody I've spoken to who knew the guy prior, yesterday I spoke to several people to include his old team leader, who's now Lieutenant Colonel, said he was fine, nothing out of place. His mental state was not something that anybody was concerned about. His ex-girlfriend posted photos of him bragging about how he got a Tesla and all this other stuff. So stick with me here. Very capable guy, but he loads the Tesla up. A Tesla, which Elon Musk brags about being bulletproof, right? So this is one of his selling points. It's bulletproof. We even saw Joe Rogan shoot an arrow at it and wasn't able to puncture this thing. So he loads up a Tesla knowing that it's going to, not explode like he wants it to with fireworks and a bunch of other junk when he can make a car bomb that's going to level this place. Here's what I think. So the PAO, the Army PAO, is saying that the body inside the cab did not match the DNA of his child. All right. We also know that there was no, they said he was shot by a Desert Eagle. We know that there was no signature when it rolled up. So nobody shot themselves when it rolled up to it. You would have seen a large signature. Mr. Guns and Gear, he's on X. He goes into this a lot in depth. He's a firearms expert and he talks about this. There's no signature. So this is what happens. You get a Tesla because you know it can drive itself up to the hotel, the Trump Tower. You put a body in it, roll it up. It's already burned up, or it's already shot, excuse me. You don't want to kill anybody because that's not the message you're trying to send. You're not trying to level the tower or kill a bunch of people. So you load it up with fireworks and a bunch of junk to send a message. And we know that his signal number or his signal safety number changed. That can't be done unless you're inside that signal account. And a lot of people conjecture, was the FBI inside his signal account, whatever else. But what if he accidentally changed his safety number, goofed up there? He rolled a body up in a Tesla specifically because a Tesla can drive itself up to the tower and did what he did to send a message to expose his stuff. And he's still alive out there somewhere.
But man, it's overwhelming when you think how much is done by families, by friends, by those in the trusted circle. And especially when we talk about the fight against child exploitation and child sexual abuse, it's off the charts of what is being done in the families. And do you know what's the, I don't know if I want to say most disappointing, but maybe one of the most heartbreaking is, do you know the number one offender? Biological fathers. And it's not going to make your day, but I brought a map to share with you. Is this map? So first of all, that is a DOJ law enforcement map. It's called the Red Dot Map. This is over the last 30 days, and every red dot on that map is at least one unique IP address of individuals downloading, sharing, distributing child abuse and rape images under the age of 12. And there's over 111,000 of them just in the US of the last 30 days. Wow. And I wanted to bring that because I think it brings to life so much of the evil that we're trying to face. And people will say, well, that's just over there and it's in those countries and it's all of those places. And it's not. Shawn, it's right here in our backyard. It is right here. And out of everyone, and some people will say, okay, well they're just downloading and sharing it and distributing it, but they're not. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders. And your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. 13 victims. Every one of those red dots is there's a boy or girl that is suffering on the other end of what they're sharing, downloading, or distributing. And I wanted to share that with you because I know that your heart breaks for them. And I think that map brings to life the evil that we're trying to fight. And it's why, one of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress, because it takes the law enforcement officers right now and victim identification officers at C3, and they're amazing. Some of my favorite people in the world, but there's 7 of them right now at C3.
There's how many?
7.
Seven people to
yes, and also ICACs are working on that. We love ICAC, and we need to enhance their funding because they desperately need it. Internet crimes against children, and they're awesome. 62 locations around the country, but primarily the ones that are also working on this are at C3. And we want to get the Renewed Hope Act passed because it would take it from 7 to 200. And now we have a much greater chance if we have all of those officers that are trained and equipped to be fighting against this evil. And again, that's the last 30 days. And that's not getting into live streaming or sextortion or grooming or so many of the other issues we're fighting. That is just in peer-to-peer networks of them sharing and distributing child rape images under the age of 12.
This is 12 and under.
12 and under.
111,423 unique IP addresses. What is 764? What is it?
So I'll tell you in my own words first. 764 Group is a Satanist cult group that focuses on extreme violence. And one of the main things that they focus on is sextortion towards children. They're labeled as a nihilist group. And for anyone that doesn't know what a nihilist is, it just means like they believe that nothing matters. There's a group called it, but no lives matter. No human life matters. Nothing matters. That's what a nihilist is. And these people have proved over and over again that they fit exactly the description that they're labeled as. And there are a ton of offshoots of this group, which I want to make it very clear that the main reason why they do a lot of the things that I'm about to show you is to get the recognition for it. There is to get the recognition individually, even if they're part of a group or a group that, they just want their group out there in any way, whether it's negative or positive. This group isn't looking for positive attention. I'll just be candid about it and tell you they extort children out of sexual material. They extort children into cutting their wrist, hurting themselves, cutting areas of their body engraving their names into their chests, their legs, their arms, their faces. They've had children commit suicide live on camera in front of audiences of people while they get cheered on. They convince children to kill animals in their house, like their pet cats, their pet dogs. They try to convince them to kill their family members, commit mass murders, bestiality, incest, you name it. A lot of it has already been done. It was unbelievable, but a 15-year-old boy started this group in Texas.
A 15-year-old boy?
15-year-old boy started the group. He was the beginning of it. And he, from what I read, was a nonverbal kid that had some, issues. I don't want to glorify this kid or talk about him in any way where anyone would feel bad for him, because he created something that is the worst thing next to, all the other things that we've talked about. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
What are the most popular games that the 764 cult is luring their victims out of?
Roblox, Minecraft, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat.
Okay, tell me about Roblox and Minecraft, because I don't know anything about gaming. I don't game. I don't.
Understood. I don't either, but it's part of the investigation. You gotta, a lot of times I'm investigating, I end up on these games or apps, and Roblox is the one that I'll focus on the most, because that seems like the majority of the issues right now.
I know little kids that use that game.
There's 75 million active daily users. So it's the largest children's game in the world right now.
I've been telling people too about what you've been telling me for at least 6 months now about the 764 cult. None of their kids are off of it yet.
Yeah, most people they throw their iPad at their kid, they put them on Roblox, and like I said earlier, little cartoon characters running around the screen, no harm in it. But, something that most people see, like, you didn't seem to even know, but like they just banned a guy. There's like a young guy who was actually groomed and had issues for himself on Roblox, who has a popular YouTube channel. He started catching predators on Roblox, just regular old predators that are interested in children, not these guys. And he got, to my knowledge, there could be more. There were 6 arrests. I saw 6 mugshots that came from this one guy. His name is Schlepp. And he went like mainstream on the media because Roblox sent him a cease and desist letter for being a vigilante on their platform. They did a press release saying that they're banning vigilantes from Roblox. Did a whole statement. You should see this press release. It's unbelievable that all their excuses of why they think vigilantes should not be a part of Roblox. There are a ton of predators. Is this
publicly available?
Yeah.
We'll post that up right now too.
Absolutely.
So this is the official statement from Roblox saying why vigilantes shouldn't be taking down pedophiles and sextortionists off of their platform. They want these people on there. They want these fucking people on there to
That's essentially what it meant to me.
Your children. And your children are on here, and I'm fucking telling you, you better get them off. You better fucking get them off. It is going to happen to you.
Yes, these people, they're sitting predators, if you've noticed.
Dude, what the fuck? What fucking parent keeps their fucking kid on there after we're telling them this shit?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's unbelievable to me, and predators hang out in spots where they can prey on victims. That's why there's so many teachers, why there's so many police officers, why there's so many parks that things happen at, or gym teachers, or people in positions of power where they have access to children. That's where predators end up. And then people are surprised by it. They wonder why. Like, why do you think these people took the job in the first place? Do you think that they weren't a predator? They weren't a pedophile prior to taking the job? Like, they've always been one. So when they're on Roblox, and it's the largest children's game in the world, obviously
it's the largest children's game in the world.
Yeah, largest in the world. So when
largest children's game in the world doesn't want people on the platform saving fucking kids.
That's exactly right.
Are you fucking listening to this shit, people? The largest video game platform in the world doesn't want to take any fucking measures at all to save kids. In fact, they made a press release discouraging it.
Yes.
A cease and desist.
Cease and
Sorry,
desist
not a press
and a press release. Both. And another thing, outside of child predators, Roblox, I'll show you a picture with it, but before I show you the picture, there's a ton of Charlie Kirk There's a ton of Charlie Kirk assassination simulators in Roblox that are publicly facing that any child can join, that are very graphic. Some are photorealistic, some are cartoon, where they can play the role of the shooter. They can watch in the crowd as he bleeds out. They can, any child can join this, and I have photos of it so you can see.
This is on the most popular kids game in the fucking world?
Yes.
The immediate response. Let's get back to that.
My area of responsibility, we had a lot of people coming up some staircases there, and it was starting to fill in. And so I was watching that, and I remember I heard the gunfire, and then I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard that bullet slap him. And so you hear two sounds, actually. And so you hear the actual shot, and then you hear the bullet hit him in the neck, like you hear it. And so in my head, I had an attribution to that. Oop, I know what that is. And so I turned, and when I turned, started running, that's when Dan grabbed him. And I mean, this is a live fire event. It's not, everybody thinks in hindsight, well, this is a one-shot assassination. No, in our heads, there's fire.
You don't know what that is.
There's fire. There's more to come, right? And so Dan grabs Charlie, and then...
Who's Dan?
Dan was the guy standing right next to Charlie when he got shot on the stage. And then I was to the right of Dan.
Okay.
And so he grabs him, and then I turn and see him start to the ground, but then I'm just thinking gunfire. And then he's leading to the ground because I'm on his right, where he was shot right here in the left of his neck. And so I jumped down on top of Charlie to cover him, because where we're at, it's concealment at best. It's a tabling with cloth on it, so it's not hard cover. Our guys are starting piling back in, and they're down, putting a human shield around him, but it's still just concealment. It's not cover. And so I initially dove down on top of him and just was on him almost face to face. And then when I was doing that, I went down, I could see the wound. And so I immediately shoved my hand into the wound to stop the bleeding, just trying to find the pressure. And it was coming out still. And I'm on top of him, like close. And it was still coming out enough that it squirted through my fingers, and I could taste it on my lips. And so I was like, man, this is a bad wound, right? And so I was just pushing that, and I don't know at that time. I know when you look at the clock, I was on him within 5 seconds and had my hands in him. And then I don't know when I put the first piece of medical on him. It was sometime after that, because I carry it right here, and that's why you carry it on you. You got to have it there. So, but then I remember pulling back away, and thinking, damn, this is bad. Like it's coming out. And I don't remember saying this, but the guys told me, and you can kind of see it on the video. I said, prep the car. And I just prepped, and you see the two guys just take off. And that car's prepped in position, but what I mean, doors are open, I mean, the whole deal. And then so we're doing pressure control there, and it's a carotid artery, so you can't put a tourniquet on it, obviously. And in my head, I'm like, pack pressure pray, man. These are what you can do for that wound. But then, so I'm on top, and then I told the guys, we got to exfil. We're all out here in the open. We're trying to give wound care, and we got to get off this X, right? And so, but I just said, we're exfilling. And so we got up, I think it was like 15, 16 seconds from the time the shot happened to the time we were picking him up and heading.
15 to 16 seconds?
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah. And so
That's fast.
Yeah, and this is horrible, but
That is fast to get an initial assessment, plug a hole, pick them up, move them.
Yeah, and so it's just like, dang. And it's some horrible realities of it too, that like I told the guys this and I haven't. When I jumped down on him, he had doll's eyes. And so I was like, man, these are wounds incompatible with life.
You knew. Yeah. The TikTok influencer that got killed,
Valeria,
live streaming.
Yeah. So Valeria was a famous influencer in Mexico. She had that buchona look, which is, the body, small waist, curves, long blonde hair from Guadalajara. And Guadalajara is a hot spot. It's the CG&G, birthplace, Jalisco. And so a lot of people followed her because she was pretty, but also because she was always on live streaming, keeping it pretty real. She would just eat her favorite snacks on there. And actually, since she was murdered, people in her memory have been like buying her favorite snacks and posting about it and to keep her alive. Now she's on this live stream and she's at her beauty salon that she owned. And she tells the audience that she's been told she's receiving 3 gifts that day. And the last one is going to be an expensive gift. And so she's kind of talking through, she's excited. And a friend of hers is also at the salon with her. And first she gets a Starbucks. A delivery man comes by, drops a Starbucks. And I think at that same delivery, she got a plushie of a pig. And it's so interesting because in Mexico too, like a pig or a pig's head is really significant. It's like puerco. So you get a lot of the times too, people will, in Guadalajara even, when people take out hits, they'll leave a pig's head on top of that person. Show that person was dirty or vile, whatever the message it may be. And she got that plushie. And then she gets flowers, and then she's waiting for her 3rd most expensive gift. And she starts saying in the live stream, she goes, "Ya me ondié," like I'm creeped out. Something's wrong. And you can tell she's kind of on edge. And she says, "You know what, girls, I think I'm gonna go. I'm kind of creeped out." And her friend tells her behind the camera, "No, you can't go. There's another gift coming for you." And some context to this is that Valeria had received gifts from viewers before. She really liked gifts, and she would talk about how she would date men who would give her extravagant gifts, and a lot of viewers would send her things. And someone comments in the chat, "You shouldn't tell people where you are." And she says, "Well, everyone knows that this is my salon," something along those lines. And then a delivery man comes, she's looking out, and she mutes the live. And then you just see her take 3 bullets. And the first bullet, I've watched this video so many times at this point, she's wearing like a chain necklace. And the first bullet, because people were saying it was fake and that it didn't look like the bullet even hit her. But the first bullet hits her necklace and her necklace goes flying off. It hits the pendant. The whole necklace goes flying off. She gets shot again, and then she gets shot in the head. And she's like slumped over and her hair is covering her whole face. So the video is really jarring because you're seeing a woman get murdered on live, being shot 3 times, but it's not like this cinematic boom, 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 and she's all bludgeoned, and she just kind of slumps in, and she's holding the pig plushie too, dead. And the friend comes over, picks up the phone, and turns off the live stream.
Have you ever worked in Silicon Valley?
Oh my God. Yes.
No shit.
Yes, I did. Okay, so and then cut. This is like a short. And then the government, she just
Here it is.
she just said yes. Okay, so I was actually invited to Silicon Valley, San Diego-based company, a very big company, to actually give a public speaking in front of CEOs and executives to talk about spy techniques, how to prevent manipulation, how to spot lie, how to read people, and how to increase sales using spy techniques.
Nice.
So, yes. Actually, I was invited by ABC and Hulu. They want to do the same. They want to kind of like film me giving a lecture about how to prevent manipulation for executives in Silicon Valley using these spy techniques from female spies. Just funny.
That's a real problem over there.
Why? You mean like because of the...
That is a big problem, especially with the AI race going on with China right now. That is a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
So what do you tell them? What do you tell them? What are they looking out for? How do you avoid espionage in Silicon Valley?
As you said, like we just discussed that. So number one, be very cautious, be aware of these sort of potential fake female accounts when they love bombing you. Why and how? Like how did they find you? Why do they text you? Okay, we know what they want. Oh, like I just want to meet you. I think you're cute. How you like possibly can see in this little picture, like how the person looks like, right? Mostly of like accounts are private, especially in LinkedIn. There are not so many pictures. These Silicon Valley tech executives, they definitely don't have Instagrams. Probably not even Facebooks. So as James...
Here's a good rule to live by. This is just a good rule for everybody to live by. If you've never had a 10 come up to you and want to fuck you, and all of a sudden they're coming around, it's probably because they want your money or your tech.
Yeah. Or like
You
any information.
You didn't turn into a 10 overnight. So...
Yes. Especially when you're...
Just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, but it's really hard for people, especially for men, to be honest. Like, really. I spoke with one person who is in Silicon Valley and CEO of a very big company. Cannot say his name and the company name because it's quite big. So he knows who I am. We spoke, we know each other through friends. And he goes, you know what? So I'm sitting in a restaurant, like for the lunch break, and this beautiful, gorgeous, Slovakian-looking, hot girl comes, and she's like, you know, pampering me with compliments and like blah, 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 and all this. And she wanted me to go with her to have sex, like straight away. But he told me, I didn't know. He said I was wise enough. I understood that she probably was a spy. So I'm so good. I didn't go with her, even though it was so hard to resist. Do you think she was a spy? I'm like, oh my God, dude. And then another comments also from Silicon Valley guys, also quite big, you know, corporations, big status, executives and all that. They said, so what? At least I will be fucked by gorgeous girl. Why not?
Wow.
I'm telling you that it's crazy, but that's you know, comments I receive.
Wow.
From them, yeah.
How many? I am curious. I mean, how many? Is this common knowledge in Silicon Valley? Does everybody know?
I think now it is because of the Times article, but before I don't think so. You know how many actually Slovakian women go there to target potential future husbands? Like,
probably
it's unbelievable. I know the story.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I know a lot of stories actually. Do you remember like 10, 20 years ago, it was very popular, these websites, dating websites. they would call it like Russian wife or like bring Russian wife or like Russian date or whatever. So
mail order brides.
Right. So this American Silicon Valley based man would go online to find Russian or whatever, like Slovakian looking woman, speak with them online. Before seeing them, make for them bride visa so they could come from Russia or Ukraine or whatever countries to America to meet with them for like, I think the visa was for 6 months. And they decide if they want to marry them, like this woman, then she would stay under the marriage visa, like the, green card marriage residency, or she would go back home. But most likely, of course, these women would do everything to show like the best behavior, obviously in every possible way. So this man would end up marrying them. And surprisingly, I know a lot of females having these situations. So they would particularly target American men from California, from Silicon Valley, in order to move to America, get married, have kids with them. And then, who knows, maybe still deliver some information to the government. And I spoke with one of them, and you know what she said? We spoke about this, and there was like some sort of like conflicts between different women. One woman would say, how can you actually create a family and raise kids with your target? Another one would say, yes, but if you do that for the government, like, why would you do it for government, right? But another one said, like, imagine the situation, what if your parents in Ukraine or Russia, Belarus or wherever, what if they are threatened or they would be put on risk if you would reject this task from the government? So,
man,
you are going to the military academy anyway. You're supposed to disattach your body from your emotions. This is part of the training. That's what they do. Your body belongs to the state. Your body belongs to the government. You, with your feelings and emotions, it doesn't exist. The soul doesn't exist.
Wow.
Okay? So all these things, and then they literally make you to become sort of like robotic, where even now, unfortunately, but like I cannot do anything about it, still now like my body lives completely separate from my emotions. So for example, if I have an intercourse, it doesn't mean that I have any feelings towards this man. So I still can have an orgasm and all that, but and it's all good, but like I don't have any attachment, and I cannot create it because I was trained to remove these feelings and emotions from my body. So my body was just a tool in the mission.
Wow.
It does make sense.
And you never told your dad?
I never told my dad because, what would I tell him? He brought me there, and then what? He would blame all his life that he did it to him. He did it to me. I don't want him to blame himself,
The invisible bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this?
Yeah. So it was, I don't think too many people paid attention. It was a video released in 2023. I was lucky because I saw the video. So I think it took for the authorities 30 minutes to remove from the internet, but there was one website where you could watch the video, I think, for a couple of days. And the airlines are still in the plan, to attack. And the invisible bomb, it's a homemade explosives. So they guide you step by step how to make your own bomb home. And the most interesting part was because they even talk about it in the video, that they made this research where you can buy what. For example, what ingredients you cannot buy in the United States, or it's tricky to buy because maybe the law enforcement, is keeping an eye on the sales. So it's really detailed how to make it, step by step. Of course, you need patience, and it's not so easy as it sounds, but you can make it. And it's a powerful bomb. The trick what they made about it is that when you prepare the bomb, you need to remove the smell, of the explosive, and then after you cover it with silicone. And that's why, and it doesn't have metal parts. So it's chemically induced explosion. So metal detectors are useless.
Dogs?
Dogs, no, because the silicone itself is just sealing the smell. So the only way is that, and even they show it in the video, the only way to detect this bomb is that the body scanner. The only way.
Okay. So they go through metal detectors.
Yeah.
A dog can't sniff it. So this could easily get onto airlines, pretty much anywhere that doesn't have the body scan machine, which most, I don't know how many airports have that now, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the
They
majority.
even tell in the video that not too many airports have it. I mean, the series is so detailed. I mean, they did the recce at the airports, and they are telling it that they check the airports, not so many. They are talking about big airports like, I don't know, I think in New York, JFK, they have it, they use it, but smaller airports, they don't.
Even some large airports don't.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, and it even in the video. So the video, it's about to make a homemade explosive like 0.5 kilo, which is powerful. They even demonstrate it, so you can see it. And just less than 200 grams. Oh, sorry, it's a European language. Grams. It's enough to make an explosion in an airplane, which is going to be catastrophic.
I mean, even airplanes. I mean, that would be devastating. But we're just talking airports. What about major arenas, stadiums, concerts, football games, baseball games, hockey games, speaking events, hospitals, schools?
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on. Nobody has this type of technology except the major hub airports within the United States, which even some major hubs haven't even implemented this type of technology with the body scan yet.
Yeah, and there are some airports, when they do body search, but of course they don't touch, for example, your intimate parts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can hide it there.
How big is this?
I mean, it showed like it's approximately, I don't know, like 20 centimeters, and it can contain 0.5 kilo, which is really powerful. And
is it about? I mean, how thin is it?
I mean, it's like they even make the bomb. It's like a mineral water bottle, and actually they use a mineral water bottle to make it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like a 0.5 liter bottle. You can make it.
What kind of devastation are we talking about?
It was shown on bricks. They put together, and yeah, it's powerful.
Would it take a building out?
No, that's not. But for example, if you just go there next to gas lines, so the bomb itself, if you use one, probably it's going to kill people around you. But it's not. We are not talking about huge vicinity of that. But if you have couple of ones and couple of people.
If I remember correctly, Scott told me that Al-Qaeda is basically predicting that the casualty count will be between 50 and 60,000 Americans dead. Am I wrong on that?
So I don't know the count that they're predicting. What I do know is Al-Qaeda trained and sent 1,000 attackers.
1,000 attackers. When did they come through?
So they finished training and they deployed them. Now, depending on how they come through, it could take different times, right? So the fastest I've seen an Afghan leave Afghanistan and get over the border illegally is about 3 weeks. Now, if you get a tourist visa and a Saudi's passport, he can fly the day after he gets his visa, right? So it depends, because they are fine getting people in however they can get them in, and they actually prefer legal immigration, as you can imagine, because they want basically the attackers to sit here and wait. If they're legal, they're not going to raise any alarm bells.
So wait a minute. I just want to clarify. You are 100% certain that there are 1,000 plus Al-Qaeda trained fighters within the United States borders?
Well, Al-Qaeda says they trained and deployed 1,000 for this attack. First off, I think there's more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda members in the United States. But for the Homeland attack, that number is based on what Al-Qaeda is saying, so they could exaggerate it. However, they did have about 1,400 in the Hamas attack, so the number is not off from what they did in the first round of attacks.
Is there any indication of what kind of attacks these are going to be? Actually, before we get into that, how old is this information?
I mean, it's ongoing. So the training's already done, right? So all the training info is now old because they trained all the Homeland attackers, if that makes sense. So like next week, you're not going to get info of a Homeland attacker probably at a terrorist camp because it's already done. So all this has been in the last year.
So it's been over a year. It's been a year.
Because this was a continuation, so they planned October 7th first, and then they rolled into planning this after.
Are we next, or is Europe next?
I think the embassy attacks are next, in my opinion.
What are they waiting for the embassies?
I don't think they're waiting. I think it took time to train them. They've now approved them, and they've now moved into the operational stage.
What about the U.S.?
So the U.S., from what we've seen, I told you about the camps, right? That there's the advanced urban warfare. So we think it's going to look like October 7th, but it's actually based on, and October 7th was probably also based on it. It's based on the Mumbai attacks that occurred 15 years ago in Delhi, India. And we believe this for multiple reasons.
What happened there? Before we dig into that.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think it was my first episode. It was basically a terrorist group, Lashkar-e-Taiba. They did a number, it's called swarming attacks. They did a number of attacks into Delhi, at a hotel, the Taj Mahal, I believe it was called, at like basically the train station, etc. The interesting thing about it, and this is why they're going to employ it now, is those terrorists were given kind of like latitude. One, they could change the location they were attacking, and they could change the modus operandi they were using. So for example, when they went into the train station, it was supposed to be a bombing. When they got in there, they said, wow, we can kill more people just shooting them than putting the bomb together, and they shot them. Another thing that they did is in real time, information was being passed to them. So when they were in the Taj Mahal, they were being told what was on the press and what the police were doing, and they changed basically some of their movements in the hotel to make the attack last longer, okay? So this is the part that's going to be different, right? So Al-Qaeda always wants to innovate when it does its next attack, right? So I've already told you about the innovation of the suicide vests. Well, do you know we really haven't had a suicide bombing in the United States ever? There's the Nashville guy who did the strange, blew himself up in the car early in the morning when no one was around. That's kind of it.
The AT&T building?
Yep. So we have not had a man walk up to a building with a suicide vest on in the United States. Americans don't understand this. Al-Qaeda knows this, right? So this is new and innovative, especially now. You don't have to walk upside of the building. You can walk in the building because of the advancement of the vest. The other thing is, in the United States, we haven't had Fedayeen attackers. Do you know what this is? I mean, you'll know when I explain it. If you fought in, like, I don't know, Ramadi, Fallujah.
So these guys are trained, and we already overlaid the video of their training, and they are going to fight until they're killed.
Yes.
There's no stopping them.
Exactly. And that matters, right? So I was watching this video, and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. And it was the bomber blew up, okay? And then everyone starts moving in. The first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic, right? But if Americans don't understand this as a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the death, think about that. So the battle's going on. The attacker surrenders, right? He might have the suicide vest. You know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you dies. So we can't let our guards down. And they know our weakness, right? So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people die in these second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So Capitol is a great symbol. Capitol was actually in, I think the Capitol is, a lot of people are targeting it, but the Capitol was in their propaganda just as 9/11 when they were memorializing 9/11, right? So the Capitol matters. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in DC, right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here. I'll kill 20, but there's a event going on. I'm going to go up there, right? And because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. So it's going to be interesting how it works with terrorists that came from different backgrounds and when they get choice.
So some of these terrorist organizations are looking for very strategic stuff like U.S. Capitol, you know, basically U.S. governmental infrastructure and in elites. And then on the other hand, you have what I'm used to seeing when we were over there. They just look for the easiest, the easiest, biggest target because they want to kill the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time and get the most press out of it.
Yep.
And so that would lead me to believe universities, churches, stadiums,
farmers markets, those type of things.
You can hear gunfire going off, stuff like that. You can hear a couple explosions, but it's Benghazi. There's a wedding hall. Try to tell people the wedding hall right there. You'd hear people they would shoot stuff off. Then he comes up to me and say, "Hey, we need to get ready to roll. The consulate's been overrun." A lot of people they don't understand, like, they think it's being attacked. No, he's saying it's been overrun. So that means they're already in the compound by the time we get the call.
Inside the gates.
Inside the gates. So that's how fast it happened. So I run back, tell Jack, we get our stuff on, we come out, and that's when I overheard, how many attackers are there? They're saying anywhere between 50 to 150. So they're all over the place, and I'm thinking, we got M4, so I ran into the team room. I grabbed a grenade launcher and the belt-fed machine gun, brought them out, started doing function checks on that, waiting in the vehicle. I'm in the back seat. Rowan's the driver. Jack is the passenger. And we're just kind of still sitting there, and it's like going, these guys, they're digging in. They're gonna get the initiative. We're gonna lose it. So I get out of the vehicle, and I remember it's Bob, Hush, and the deputy chief of base. They're all on the front porch, and I was out on the passenger side. And I said, "Hey, we got to get over there. We got to get over there now. We're losing the initiative. It's going to take us a lot harder to get onto this compound and rescue these guys." And Bob goes, "No, stand down. You need to wait." I'm like, "What the fuck? What the fuck are we waiting for? There's nothing to wait for. We need to get over there." And he's like, "We need to come up with a plan. We can't come with the plan fucking sitting here. We got to come with the plan with our eyes on the target. There's nothing we can do from here. We know the layout of the compound." And that's when Hush goes, "Tig, shut up, get back in the car." So fine, I get back in, and it's armored, so they couldn't hear what's going on. So I had closed the door and I got out. I said, "Hey, Bob just told us to stand down." And you could just tell right then. They're like, he's not going to let you go. That's what it meant. Well, what Sarah and what OD would have been doing throughout the years is he is actually digging into actually what happened, more than investigation. Well, weeks prior to the attack, 17 Feb had told Bob, the commander had told Bob that if something ever happened, they were never going to show up. That night, Bob actually got a hold of him before he told me to stand down, that they weren't going to show up. That's why we were told to stand down. And then, for them to sit there and say, oh, there's no evidence of a stand down order. What the hell is that? But again, how can you rely on, it's a hostage rescue is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to send 17 Feb in there, which is worse than sending the Boy Scouts in to do a hostage rescue. Some of these guys watching the State Department train don't even know how to reload a freaking rifle. So it's like we are the only, and like in the movie, we are the only help that they had. We're the only support that could have made a difference. And that stand down order is 100% guarantees why Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith didn't make it. They're dead because of that stand down order.
Damn, man.
Well, people say, well, how do you know that for a fact? Well, they'd have been engaging with us instead of setting the buildings on fire. They died of smoke inhalation. They didn't die from, blunt force trauma, a gunshot. They died from the smoke from the fire.
Throughout that time frame, we're still thinking Americans are going to help. We're still thinking that the ISRs is seeing everything. And we're thinking somebody's coming, cavalry's coming. But they weren't. But at that point in time, we still had some faith that they were, because they normally did. Everywhere else I was at, cavalry came. Whether it was another GRS team, whether it was a Scorpion team, an NSA, the GRS equivalent at the NSA, whether it was military, somebody was coming. And between that 2-hour lull of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., where the next attack happened, that's where we started to come to the realization nobody's coming. And I went, did you guys hear that? It sounded like you know what it sounded like when we used to hear the 107s come in Iraq? Hear that shh, that's what it sounded like. I thought it was a rocket. I said, did you guys hear that? And then, I don't know, something in me said mortar. I go, mortars. And so I said, take cover, the first one hit, and it hit on the backside of building C. And that's when the world opened up again. And I remember Roan, he just spun. He spun, and he went cyclic on that other 46, and he's just over where the sheep slaughterhouse is. They're trying to come through there. Now, like idiots, they're walking their troops into where the mortars are coming. Fine with me. They can take out their own guys if they want. But Roan is just... So I'm seeing this laser beam because it's not daylight. The movie shows us daylight. It actually was before morning nautical twilight. So it's, it's right when the sun's made, but the night vision, you still need your night vision. So I'm watching all this. I'm seeing one guy turn and start to shoot that direction. I'm seeing another guy turn, which was Oz. The next guy was Bub, and the next guy was Dave Ubin. And of course, I want to get my gun in the fight, but I can't see the targets because they're here. I'm here. The targets, they're coming from this direction. Mortars are coming from this way. So I'm shooting over their heads. I put a couple rounds down, and I look, and I think we kind of already went through this before, but I look behind me to make sure there's nobody coming from my 6, because I still got areas of responsibility. Nobody's there. I turn around, get a couple more shots, and I see the next one hit, and this one hits on building C. It hits right by the parapet wall. Boom, blows up. As my night vision goes white and it comes back, those 4 guys that were shooting are now 3. So it's like, close your eyes, you see 4, open your eyes, there's 3. Dave's hit. Dave got hit with a 81. It sheared half his leg off. It sheared half his arm off. They were on, but they were just hanging by tendons. And he's screaming. And I was like, how did you hear that? I don't know how I heard it, but I heard him screaming. I'm hit. He's yelling. He's screaming. I could hear it. I'm still shooting. They're still shooting. I turn around to make sure nobody's coming again because I still got my 6. We still got to fight. We got to finish it. You can't quit. They got to take care of Dave. I'm not run off my position and help him. I'm just expecting maybe the Delta guys or somebody to come up and help, but I don't know. We got a fight to go. I put 3 rounds over the top of their head. I went boom, boom, boom. And as soon as I did that, 3 mortars, fire for effect. Boom, boom, boom. And when they did that, My night vision went completely white because of the overabundance of light, and as it came back, they were gone. And I saw the pixie dust. I saw the charged particle. It really did look like they got turned to dust.
Tell me about Beyonce.
Despite her repeated denials, Beyonce was paid.
Who was she paid by?
The Harris campaign. She was paid tens of thousands of dollars to not sing. Well, no, she refused to sing. She was paid tens of thousands of dollars to give a speech that no one wanted to hear. And Kamala Harris thought all of these people came out to Texas to hear her speak. Yeah, right. They came to hear Beyonce sing. And you know what? This is the second time they failed to deliver Beyonce. The first time was at the DNC. They promised that Beyonce would perform. Beyonce did not perform. So that was letdown number one. Letdown number two, they went to Texas to prop up this candidate who could never beat Ted Cruz, Colin Allred. And they told NBC News that Beyonce would perform. Beyonce came out and gave this speech, this boring ass speech, and just left without performing. And then Kamala Harris got booed. She got drowned in boos because people didn't really care what she had to say. They were there to hear Queen Bee. So that was number one. Beyonce was paid, show up. Cardi B was paid. Okay? Cardi B, who famously said she wasn't paid, her production company was paid to show up. Katy Perry was paid. Christina Aguilera was paid. These people were all paid. And Oprah wasn't paid $1 million. She was paid $2 million. Okay? Let's be very clear.
$2 million.
$2 million to Harpo Productions. Who owns Harpo Productions? Flip Harpo backwards. It spells out Oprah. It's Oprah's production company. It was paid $2 million to put on that town hall in which Meryl Streep calls her Madam President. It was a love fest for Kamala Harris. So Oprah was paid $2 million. And who else? Al Sharpton was paid $500,000 moments before he interviewed her, okay? An MSNBC anchor, Al Sharpton, was paid money. A so-called journalist was paid money moments before he interviewed the vice president. People like Roland Martin, who are attacking me now, he was paid $350,000 to interview advertising costs, okay? Advertising costs, wink, wink, to interview Kamala Harris. The Pennsylvania Democratic Party was paid $25 million after the chair raised hell for not being paid enough street money. Street money is just a boondoggle. It's a cauldron of corruption. They just hand out money to ward leaders. And so this is how donor money was spent. Donor money was basically set on fire for 5-star hotels, luxury trips, private, charter planes, just this ridiculous stuff. And a lot of these donors are hardworking Americans. I had people giving anywhere from $10 to $15 all the way to $1 million. All of them worked hard for their money. And if they knew that their money was spent this way, they never would have given.
There's a lot of corruption coming out right now about USAID. Did they fund any of this campaign?
I don't think they funded any of the Harris campaign, but the Democrats are so pissed off and freaking out about USAID because Trump got it. He hit it on the nail. That's where the corruption is. And we need to look into what happened with that missing Ukraine money. All those billions that were supposed to go over there, and Zelensky said he never got it. What the hell happened to that money? Why are we funding transgender operas around the world? Why? Why are we funding DEI programs, not only here at home, but across the globe? Someone's got to answer for it. And you can tell that we hit the target by how angry they are.
What does an invasion from China look like? Is it a kinetic war, or is it more of a cognitive war, or is it them influencing the KMT political party?
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough that, we want to avoid a kinetic conflict. There are no winners in war. But the other gray zone, coercion against Taiwan, is already happening. There are military assets circling Taiwan, the cognitive warfare, the disinformation, the efforts at dividing our society, weakening our domestic unity and cohesion, that is already happening. The cyber attacks are already happening. Mm-hmm. And so we also need hybrid responses. And I do not want to really think about what a kinetic conflict will look like, because it will be hell and a disaster for humanity. Mm-hmm. And I think it will also be harmful to the people of China. And we are continuing to invest in our defenses so that deterrence will actually work and that we can avoid such a conflict. But in the meantime, all of the other gray zone areas of coercion, threats, cyber attacks, that's ongoing. And we are in a race to make ourselves much more resilient. Now, I've used the word resilience many times today.
Yes,
and I do think that is a core spirit of who we are as Taiwanese people. I grew up in a Presbyterian family in Taiwan, and the emblem is a burning bush. The burning bush is symbolic of resilience. It is also a defiance against oppression. It's about keeping the spirit going, and about resurrection against persecution. And I think that particular spirit is not only part of my upbringing, but it is very much internalized among our society. And again, we've come a long way in making Taiwan also a land of the free. And no person or no country is too small to deserve freedom.
Is Romania in the midst of a coup right now?
Indeed.
That's what's happening.
Indeed. It's a coup d'etat in no shame, in front of all the old world. And the problem, Shawn, is no reaction. Everything is illegal after the December 6th, the last year. Nobody said anything.
How much of this coup has to do with the NATO base that they're building in Romania right now? From my understanding, this will be the biggest NATO base ever to be built in Europe, 1.5 times bigger than Ramstein Air Base.
I understood also this.
10,000 troops.
I understood. Which, by the way, they are not Romanians. So probably they had the plan before, and the Romanian people, they changed their plan. And for this reason, they put a constitutional court to stop and to cancel the second round. Because, again, I was and I am, and I shall be forever, for peace. Why you have to have war? Why you have to... We don't need war. This is my point.
What will the implications of Romania be if the NATO base goes to completion?
Will be a way for a dangerous situation of democracy in the United States. This is a main important point.
I would think there would be major implications for Romania too if Russia decides to strike that base.
It's true. I can understand, even for us. But still, it's a problem of human being communication. It's a human being, part of this life related to his God. If in the note of $1 is we trust in God, is real or not? This is my question for Washington. We trust in God. We trust in Romania, for sure. Otherwise, we cannot arrive here. We don't arrive here without that. God made us to arrive here in this point. And for sure, we shall continue this way of dignity. But have faith, Shawn. And exactly here we are today. You have or you don't have faith. This is the main important point of our dialogue today. And this is my message. You trust or not in God, because here is a spiritual level.
But that's what happened with Nikola Tesla too, right? They seized all
his
like
stuff.
80 boxes of research.
So when he died, it wasn't the FBI at the time, although the FBI was there. It was like the Office of Alien Property or something, whatever agency's in charge of foreigners. He died, and within hours, they were in his room. This is at the New Yorker Hotel. And they seized 80 boxes of his research, all kind of research plans. And because it's national security. And they held on to it for months and months. And they finally returned his property to his nephew, but 20 boxes were missing. So in those boxes, allegedly, and this falls under Project Nick, is Tesla's research into direct energy weapons, to DWs, which was very hot with military at the time, with DARPA and all of that. We still don't know what's happened to those boxes, but we do know that they were researching things based on Tesla's research. And the formula, the sort of the architecture for the HARP project up in Alaska, a lot of that comes from Tesla's research. And it took me quite a while to connect the dots, but you will find Tesla's missing work suddenly shows up in patents from this guy somewhere in Alaska. I forget his name. And out of the blue, he lands a contract with the DOD for a lot of money, and they build a facility in Fairbanks, Alaska. And it's just an array of antennas in a small building, and it cost a fortune. Like, where'd the money go? Cost a fortune. And what it does is it ionizes and creates plasma in the atmosphere. And they say we use this to test the atmosphere. But it could also be used for all kinds of processes. What Tesla wanted to do was create free energy by exciting the ionosphere. That was what he was doing with Wardenclyffe Tower. But he needed funding to do that, and he couldn't get any funding. J.P. Morgan was his patron, and he told J.P. Morgan, do you see it in his letter? I need a sum of money. He needed like $200,000 to get this project going. And J.P. Morgan said, well, you're building wireless communication. What do you need all this money for? And Tesla's like, no. Wireless communication, I got that. We're going to do wireless energy. We're going to do wireless free energy for everyone on the planet can just tap into this and just get free electricity. And J.P. Morgan says, well, how do you put a meter on that? J.P. Morgan owned copper mines that made copper wire. He owned rubber farms all over the world that made insulation for the wire. He owned lumber mills and forests that created poles for wire. He owned coal factories. He owned machine shops that created generators for electricity. And he owned railroads that brought all this stuff around the country. Free energy shuts that whole business down. We don't need any of that. Carnegie, we don't need any of that. The Mellon family, we don't need you guys anymore. It's just free. Imagine what the world would be like if energy was just free.
We're literally standing on the second floor. There's a set of ladder, stairs that go up to a landing and up. A little head pops down looking at us on the ceiling.
How did he hear you guys?
He had to have, right? I mean, anybody inside the house had plenty of time to wake up. They heard helicopters hovering, helicopters crash. They'd heard muffled gunfire, some explosions, right? Outside buildings, first floor of the main building, and then now we're in the house. So they had more than enough time to assume there's somebody here that's...
Is it true that somebody yelled to Khalid in Arabic? He came out and then was popped.
Didn't yell, whispered. It's the sexiest move I ever saw in the SEAL teams. Whispered Khalid's name. You're on the second floor. You see a head peek down the wall, look down at us, try and see who's down there. Couldn't tell, right? It's pitch black. We're quiet. We're not, hey, it's America. None of that. And that same SEAL, right, sat right next to me in the helo crash, right, in front of me on the stairs, and he literally whispers Khalid's name. Khalid. Khalid had heard gunfire, all this stuff. Then he hears somebody whispering his name. Not yelling it, nothing aggressive. Peeks around the corner and gets popped in the head.
Holy shit.
Falls down, rolls down a couple sets of stairs, AK-47. Right? He was literally right around the corner of the stairwell with an AK-47.
Did you shoot bin Laden?
On the ground, yes.
You did?
Yep.
How many times?
Couple.
Where at?
The body.
In the body? How did that feel? Don't fucking tell me like, just doing the job. Bullshit. You just fucking killed. You shot.
I didn't kill bin Laden. I've never said I killed bin Laden.
I'm correcting myself. You shot him as he was twitching at the fucking edge of his bed, and you didn't feel anything?
I don't know what that counts for, but...
Come on. You didn't feel anything. No sense of accomplishment, retribution. This guy fucking brought down the Twin Towers.
We had a long way to get home still, right? I think everybody was still very focused on, okay, right? We've got one helo down, right? Let's think big picture here, where we are in this situation. Yeah, we got Knucklehead down, but...
Did you know it was him?
Man, looking at him, it looked like him, right? The women gave us an alias. The kids confirmed it. We went back to the women. The women then confirmed it. We all carried photos of him, right? And all the photos we carried, his beard was gray and his had gray hair. I searched his bathroom on the shelf just above his sink just for men hair dye.
Interestingly enough, never forget this. Christmas lights around the top of the prison. This is December 20th, 1989, right before Christmas. There's Christmas lights. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
And we were offset from the prison. And then the pilots did this number and then got in line. And the line landed right on top of the prison. And it peeled off. I got in position by the cupola. I had security position looking through the window down the stairs, the cupola on top. And then the second two set of birds came in. They dispersed. Breacher on my team went up to put a charge up. And in the process of pulling the time fuse, he knocked the charge down. And it fell right in front of me, about from me to you. And I was like, what is that? I didn't even, you know what I mean? It didn't even dawn on me it was the charge. Fortunately, when he went to pull it, he didn't ignite it. He did not ignite the time fuse. That probably would have killed me. If memory serves me correct, it was a C6 charge, which was P for plenty, brother. I mean, we were not going to take any chance of getting in that door. It was P for plenty. It probably would have killed me. Because I ended up going from being the guy looking through the window, now I'm going to be the number one guy, going through the door. And I was down on the knee, and I was like, what is that? I couldn't believe it. And I remember my team sergeant came up and goes, hey, man, get the backup charge ready, because I had a backup charge. And I go, why am I going to get the backup charge ready? Because the breacher's right there. Well, then the breacher went back around, and he said, hey, come on. He basically had me come up for cover. I covered him on the door. He put the charge back up. We initiated it, and dude, it was a boom. I'll never forget it. It was a boom. When I was looking in the cupola window, the lights were on. I thought the charge knocked out the lights, and it was because it was pitch black. What had actually happened, the snipers, the support guys had hit the generator and killed the lights. I didn't know that till later. They killed the lights in the prison, so it was pitch black. I come around, door's long gone on the cupola. I step in, there's no landing, Shawn. Here's the door. The steps go right up to the door. There's no landing like this, where you step in and then go down the steps. It goes right up the door, like, out here, you guys got. There's none. So I almost, by the grace of God, I don't know how I didn't trip, because it's pitch black. I'm walking into it, and by the grace of God, somehow I didn't trip. Went down. It was not long at all to get in, get situated, and then they were going to start lighting up Comandancia. So they started lighting it up. We're holding the stairwell. Somebody, a PDF guy, a guard, or whatever, poked his head around. Gary Harrell was there. He was the troop commander. He shot at him. I think he missed him. Pretty calm. He claimed later he thought he hit him, but I'm pretty sure he missed him. Because the guy took off. And then they came out with Muse. They put a C4 charge on his door and blew the door wide open. There was a guard that had told Kurt if there was a rescue attempt, he was going to kill him. Because Kurt, I think, asked him, hey, if there's a rescue attempt for me, what are you going to do? And he goes, I'll kill you. This guy was in the room right across from Kurt. So the priority was to get down to Kurt as soon as possible to beat this guy, before this guy gets his situational awareness, figures out what's going on, goes over to Kurt's cell and kills him.
You guys knew that before you went?
Yep, we knew it. Yep.
Was he in the cell across?
Yeah, he was. He was in the room across. And G-team went in and killed him. Yep. He was armed with a pistol. I think he was in a shower, if memory serves me correct. G-team found him in the shower. I think the guy went for his pistol, or already had a pistol in his hand, and they killed him. Yep. And they got Muse out. They brought in a little, aviator kit bag, and had body armor and a helmet. A body armor and a Kevlar helmet. Peeled him out. I remember seeing him go up the stairs. Couple things. We get up. We tell him, hey, PC secure to get the extraction birds out. The reason the book's called 6 Minutes to Freedom, because from when we touched down to when we called, PC secure, called for exfil was 6 minutes. Just not that we were, it's just the way it worked out. Not like we had a set time standard or anything like that. It just happened. It was 6 minutes from when we sat down on top of the prison to when we were ready to exfil with Kurt Muse was 6 minutes.
Wow.
We were at the very top. You know what I mean? Stairwell. I remember I was here, Kurt Muse is here, and that door's here. Dude, I'll never forget this as long as I live. It got quiet for a minute. I don't know how long. Like a C-130 maybe was, taking a loop around, didn't have a, clear field of fire, whatever. Got quiet, and you could hear the prisoners screaming. And when you hear somebody screaming who, honest to God, thinks they're going to die, it's a sound you'll never forget. And I'll never forget it. It's nothing like you see in a movie or any of that other bullshit. These people were convinced they were going to die, and they're trapped in these prison cells. And I'll never forget that sound.
Damn.
Yep. So we go up, birds land. I was on bird 2. They get Muse on bird 1. They put him inside the bird. He's not on the pods. They put him inside the bird, and then they G-team, who rescued him, and then they're exfilling with him. We lift up, we go over, and I see muzzle flash. Dude shooting at us. And I didn't get a bead on him, but I put some rounds down at him to get him, and then the muzzle flash stopped. And I'm pretty confident I did not hit the guy, but I at least got him to duck, so he's no longer shooting at our bird.
Yeah.
We lose track of bird 1. We go back to Howard Air Force Base. We land. I'm like, awesome. Bird 1 went down. Bird 1 with Kurt Muse went down. What happened was they were serious. They had 2 pilots. They had 6 dudes with Kurt Muse. They were seriously overloaded. And the pilot tried to gain speed and kick back up, but there was power lines. So he's worried about hitting the power lines. So he sets down on a road, a street, right on the other side of the cemetery. Well, 4 guys from G Team jump off and get out. And they're pulling security. The pilot like waves them back, come on, because he's going to go down. He's essentially going down the street to gain, airspeed, and then he's going to lift off. When they get back on, 3 of the 4 guys don't hook back up. So that becomes critical here in a minute. Anyway, they go down. He takes a left on this street, and he starts to lift up, and the bird gets hit, crashes. 1 guy, 3 of the guys all fell off. 1 guy was still, the team leader he was hooked in, so he was good to go. And Muse, who's in the back, is good to go. And there was a guy from my team, my 2IC, assistant team leader, was basically with him, escorting him. He was fine too. Bird goes down, breaks the right strut off. The right strut had landed on one of the guys who fell off. It landed on his foot. He lost his big toe.
Then we came to Christmas Day, 1968, and didn't even realize it was Christmas because we had been so busy planning, working things out, and they had a mission where they wanted us to go in on a mountaintop for a trail watch and also look for enemy fuel lines because the NVA were bringing down fuel lines from North Vietnam that were coming down into Laos. And the fuel lines would come down to refuel the trucks as they came down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. But nobody had found any yet. So our mission was to get us this hilltop, get inserted, do a general area recon, then the next day move out to try to find some of those fuel lines. So in November of 68, President Johnson declared a bombing halt in North Vietnam. And not all, but a lot of the anti-aircraft weaponry that had been up in North Vietnam began coming south. So on Christmas Day, our target was just into Laos, maybe 5 or 10 clicks into Laos. And we had a king beast, Captain Tuong, the one who pulled me out when I was upside down. He was our pilot that day. And instead of doing the yellow leaf Aspiro, he wanted to just go in low level, go right up and set down. Well, somewhere he made a mistake. And we came in, we went up the mountainside, and halfway up the mountain, there was this little knoll. He touched down on the knoll instead of going all the way up. But we got out, and there was a lot of elephant grass. So right there in the elephant grass, he took off, and the elephant grass was thick. Again, it's 10 to 12 feet. To the south and to the west, and even to the northwest, it was so steep we couldn't go anywhere. So Phuc led off to the east. He's our point man. And with Bubba, me, Lynn Black was there with us. And then we had Tuan, Phuc, and Hep. And so we're there, moving out. And within a half hour or less, we made contact, light contact with the NVA. So we came back, and we're back on that little knoll. And Lynn and I are talking. It's like, well, the Northeast is the last place that we can go. And Lynn goes, but there's no activity there. We don't see anything. We've had contact here. And then people started shooting at us from down the hill in the south. And we were throwing hand grenades. All of a sudden, the elephant grass catches fire down the mountain. And the wind from that mountain area was blowing those flames up the hill. And then the NVA were going around. When they saw that, they were going around and setting fires on the base of that knoll that we're on. So at one point, the elephant grass was burning. We're looking down the hill. You have all these smoke waves, and then the heat waves you see. You could look through, and you could see the NVA there lighting stuff further down the mountain. But they weren't shooting at us. They were all lighting up the mountainside. So I declared a prairie fire emergency. Spider was flying cubby that day. We couldn't go. Oh, and Spider comes out and he goes, do not go to the northeast. We had an intel report. There's an NVA ambush waiting for RT Idaho there. I never had an intel report like that. So we didn't go. Now we're fighting the fire. Lynn and Bubba cut S4, try to blow the flames back down the hill. But the mountain and the wind and everything was blowing that stuff up. Thankfully, Captain Tuong got there, and he came up above us, and he came down the mountain flying sideways. And I looked up and saw Captain Tuong, and I recognized him because from that day mission where I was upside down and other missions, and we, of course, had bought him drinks, he came down and he landed, and the prop wash blew back all the flames. We jumped on that King Bee. When he lifted off, whoosh, all of the LZ was covered with flames.
Wow.
And of course, we left under fire. So we were firing at the NVA as we pulled out. So that was Christmas. And we barely got out of there that day. And that night I took a shower. And when I'm walking back to my hooch from the shower, because the shower was over to the left, past the officers' barracks, and our hooches were here. And as I walked back to my room, I hear this little cheap transistor radio playing Silent Night. I go, son of a bitch, it's Christmas. I'm thinking about Trenton and mom and dad and grandmom, you know, what they're doing on Christmas Day. And then I thought, you know, this is fucking crazy. I don't think I'm going to see my birthday. We keep having missions like this.
I had a 22-man team. We had put two of our recon teams together because we were going after a group of NVA that had a group of American prisoners that they were trying to take through Laos into North Vietnam, and we were trying to stop them. And we had stopped for an RON. We had 22 people, so it was a circle almost as big as this room in here, and they were about arm's lengths apart. I was in the center with my assistant team leader, and it was about 21:30. It was dark. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and I was really tired. My eyes were starting to roll back in my head. I was leaning against a tree, and I heard a twig break. And I opened my eyes, and I was thinking to myself, that sounded like a twig break inside the perimeter. And then I heard another one, and I realized someone was inside our perimeter and was coming directly toward me. I'm laying back. I have a CAR-15 laying across my lap, and I can hear this person moving. And I knew all of our people knew the rule. Once you go down, you don't get back up at night. Anybody moving is a bad guy. And this guy's coming right toward me, and I was thinking, he's going to step on me. I slid my selector switch over the full auto, and I'm laying there, and he's coming, and the air's so thick. And at this point, I can mentally see a silhouette coming at me, although I can't really see the silhouette. I know where it is based on the sound, and now I'm starting to hear him breathe. I'm starting to hear his heartbeat because he realizes he's inside the perimeter, and he's probably about to get killed. So his heart is thumping. He's coming right at me. I can't open up because that'll light the whole perimeter up, and we'll be in trouble. So I couldn't get to my knife. So I decided, just as he gets to me, I'm just going to shoot my left hand up. I'm going to grab a hold of his chest, whatever he's got there, and I'm going to pull him at the same time, raise my leg up and trip him. I'm going to pull him down to the ground. I'm going to hit him in the side of the head with the muzzle of my CAR-15 as I'm bringing him down. If he yells, if he fires his weapon, I'm going to pull the trigger. So he's coming. He got into position. I grabbed him. I jammed the muzzle into the side of his head, just cut a big gash in his head. I bring him down face first into the mud, and he didn't say a word. Didn't make a sound. It scared him so bad he didn't even grasp when I grabbed him. And then I started thinking, now what? I'm sitting here holding this guy face down in the mud. What am I going to do with him? And then I heard a whisper. And the whisper was Trung Huy, he was lieutenant in Vietnamese. Lights, lights. What? And he said, lights, lights.
Where did you fuck that up?
In Africa.
Do you want to talk about it?
It's a tough one for me, man. I might be able to abbreviate it. I've been working on this one for a long time to try to be able to come out and tell the story. This kid, man, this kid who was everything to me, probably about 16 years old. He stayed out of the war efforts. He really wanted to help educate us. Earlier when I said that when we went in country, everybody's calling us brother American, he would be the first to say, here's why. And this kid knew everything about America. And that's all he wanted to do was go to America one day. And he told me that his mom and dad were killed 2 weeks before we got there in the Civil War. And there's a lot of kids running around with no parents. And so, when we see him, they're like, hey, kids, you got to go away. You can't stay here anymore. We have no place to go. We have no place to go. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you go back to your village? Our parents are dead. Okay. So we had these 5 kids that would always hang out with us on a daily basis. They'd always be looking for work. So we give them MREs and food, medicine and stuff. And they tell us where to get like eggs in town and little blocks of cheese because like you're eating MREs every day. And, there's not a whole lot of food running around in that country during that war. So he was extremely resourceful. Like one day he ran into town 8 miles to get an egg and a block of cheese for me and a little bowl of bread and ran 8 miles back and came back at the end of the day. And I'm like, where the fuck have you been, man? He goes, I went and got egg and cheese. I'm like, what took you so long? He's like, I went to town. I'm like, you mean you went to town? You mean did you get a ride? No, I ran flip-flops, man. And I'm like, you ran 18 miles to get me an egg and cheese. Yes, I guess. He doesn't know what 18 miles is. Because that's all they do all day is run and walk everywhere. And I'm like, do you see that vehicle right there? You tell me next time and we'll drive in and grab it. Okay. And so then we started doing that. I was like, that's how cool these kids were. Anyways, he would start telling us where weapons caches were and say, hey, I know a guy that's building guns. He's not bad. He's trying to put food on his family's table. They can't sell weapons to the militia, legally. So they're getting busted. These are part of the weapons cache issues that was happening in the city because it's just Lord of War, man. There's guns everywhere. So we would go and do these hits and eventually realize when we turn over anybody that was a potential threat or issue, the Nigerians would take and cut their hands off on the side of the road, typical our African stuff. They didn't take prisoners because they don't get paid like I talked about earlier. And then one night we're down there, this kid comes in, and I'm not going to say his name, but he says, Travis, I know where a place is. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. You're not supposed to be here. I don't want these people knowing that you associate with us. He was so adamant. I said, all right, fuck it, let's go. So we jump in the vehicle. We did a 5-point contingency plan. We jump in the vehicle. We drive down the road, which is right around the back. And I said, hey, if we're not back in 45 minutes, this is the approximate location we're going to be. And we walk up, same thing. I knock on the door. And there's a guy sitting on a box in a little tiny room about the size of a large closet. A couple candles lit in the room. And he had a mattress on the floor right around the corner, which the kid told me that there was a couple RPGs and AKs in there. And so I knock on the door, and I could see an AK beside him, which they could have a rifle in their house. We didn't give a fuck. They were trying to protect themselves, but they just couldn't have caches and be selling guns. So I said, hey, you know why I'm here? And he goes, yes, I know who you are. I said, okay, can we talk? And he goes, no, you get out of my house. How dare you insult me? And I'm like, okay, this is different. Never had this conversation. Normally like, yes, come in. You're the Marines that are helping us. Yes, here, give me my food, give me my medicine. Where's the Red Cross? Can I have security? No Nigerians. I want Ghana, Senegalese only. And we'd do a quick negotiation. We'd get out of there. And we would secure that village with security and food, and they would love us. Well, he's pissed off. And I'm like, why? Dude, what the fuck, man? Hey, I'm going to talk to you and you're going to listen to me. I know you're selling weapons and you need to stop. And I know you have them, and I'm here to offer you a deal. I'm here to offer you help. You've probably heard what we're doing for you. I know. How dare you insult me? Get out of my house. I don't sell weapons to the government. I'm like, I didn't say you did yet. Okay. But, and he starts getting really belligerent. All of a sudden, a kid runs in and starts yelling at him, saying, you listen to him. You listen to him. He'll help you. He'll help you. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. What the fuck? What is going on here? And I'm like, dude, why are you, like, I'm trying to say, like, I don't know this kid. I'm acting fucking weird. And I was like, look, dude, shut your mouth. Listen, I'm going to give you $20 American to save your life because you know at the end of the road, there's a Nigerian checkpoint. Fuck the Nigerians. Like, yeah, exactly. And you know what's going to happen if you don't obey me right now. I'm going to arrest your ass and take you down to Nigerians. Fuck you. And I said, hey, dude, $20 American at that time. The Liberians told us that would be a year's salary for a Liberian. So I'm like, we're fucking carrying cash all the time, right? Can't drop a Rolex in Liberia. They don't give a shit. They wanted American money. And so he takes it and I'd go to give it to him and he slaps my hand away and I'm like, and he goes, $100. And I'm like, dude, what? This is, and he goes, per AK-47. I'm like, you motherfucker. And now he just admits it, right? And now he's trying to swindle me out of this thing now. And I said, fuck you, get up, you're under arrest. And I reached over and I was sitting on this little stool and he was about right here. And I reach over and I grab the mattress and I point and I go, see you motherfucker. And that's when he grabs his AK and puts it in my face. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. I totally was like, stupid idiot. You let your emotions get to you. This is me looking back on the situation. The kid's like screaming. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I was like, hey, calm down, dude. Calm down. I'm here to help you again. I'm not here to hurt you. And at that point, I saw two things. I saw his eyes extremely bloodshot. I think he was high up on something. And I remember seeing, of course, the muzzle in my face. And I remember seeing the safety on. And I remember going, you lose, in my mind. I had my 1911 on under concealment. And in a Safariland 071 paddle holster on my side. I remember realizing in a nutshell, again, looking back a little bit, but processing the micro thoughts that I had was he's going to try to kill me. The gun's not going to work. He's going to relinquish control with his hand to take the safety off like an untrained person does on an AK. By the time he gets his hand back on the gun, that's going to be about 2 seconds. I know I can draw my 1911 in less than 1 second from concealment and smash this motherfucker right now, pin his AK up against the wall, step into his chest and pull the trigger. And step 10 happens. And it goes into it. I grab the muzzle, I step up, put my foot into his chest, pin him into the corner, fire 2 shots and step back. I fall back. I hear this. I'm holding a barrel, holding a 1911. I hear this fucking scream that was like if you could murder a cow and the cow could scream, I don't know why that pops in my head. That's what I heard. And I almost shoot my boy in the face. And I called him my boy, like he was almost my son. Because I felt so sorry for him. That would happen to his family. I grab him, and he's just bawling, man. And I pin him up against the door jamb, and I'm like, don't you ever fucking do this again. Get the fuck out of here. And I throw him outside. He tumbles on the ground and gets up and hauls ass down the alley. And I'm standing there, and I run back. We get in the vehicle, haul ass. And I'm sitting there staring at that fucking AK, and I pull the chamber back, or the bolt back on it. There's a round in the chamber. Like, fuck, man. What the fuck? Why did that just happen? Like, why did this kid come in that fucking room? Why was he so adamant about this tonight when he never does that? Like, what the fuck is going, why did he mud suck me into that situation? And I thought about it, and I sat there all night staring at that AK. And the next morning, didn't sleep 1 second. Sun comes up, just barely. Kids aren't there. Kids are always there every morning. They're out there sitting on the railing, ready to bust rust on our vehicles, ready to get food, they weren't there. So I jog down the hill, get into town. I see one of the kids walking around in town, one of the older kids, about 19 years old, I think. They don't know how old they are. I go up to him and I say, hey, I forget his name. I yell his name and I go up to him and I grab him and he jerks away from me, scared to death. And I'm like, hey, what, dude, what the fuck, guys? Where you at this morning? And he starts shaking his head and getting nervous, like I'm about to cry. And he's backing up away from me. I'm like, dude, what's going on? And I said, I need to see my boy. Where is he? I need to talk to him about something that happened last night. And he backs away and he goes, no, you'll never see him again. And I was like, why won't I see him again? And I'm trying to really figure out what the hell's going on here. And he goes, because last night you killed his father. And he turns around and runs away. And I'm like, the fuck does that mean? What are you talking about? Killed his father. Look, his father died. And so, and it fucking hit me, man. I dropped to my knees right there in the village. And I realized, and then I heard the stories later from the villagers, that all that boy wanted me to do was get his dad out of the weapons, arms, fucking whatever that was. He was ashamed of his dad. And he was and I was the guy that was supposed to help him. And I fucked it up. Because of this fucked up supersets of justice, this ancestral curse, maybe, to go so far above and beyond to help other people that I hurt them. I didn't tell anybody about this except a couple very tight dudes. Determined that it was a good shoot. Fuck whatever that means. And I wanted to quit like I've never wanted to quit in my life.
First duffel bag I picked up, a friend of mine from Fort Bragg. He went, sorry.
It's okay.
He went about 30 days, before me, and, just disappeared. Nobody knew where he went, what assignment he got when he got there. He just went into a black hole. And, so he's been there 30 days, and I'm inventorying his personal effects to send back to his family. And Saul got real. So I did that, went and linked up with the team, and went to work. Started training with the team because we had a mission coming up in a few days. And trying to learn everything I could before we went out. But anyway, that was a long story of how I got to.
What was in the bag?
He had, some civilian clothes, letters, to his parents. I mean, people's personal kinds of things like that. They were, letters that, that had come from their families. They were letters they had written that they hadn't mailed yet. Things they'd had in their hooch, personal kinds of things that they would put in there. So, I mean, probably half to 2/3 of it, I took out. But I had to read the letters, to their families. And, that was brutal. Just brutal.
And you were close with him.
Yeah. I just... Anyway.
What was his name?
Stacks. Lieutenant Stacks. Stan Stacks. And, yeah. we went through the officer court, SF course up there, and hung out some after that. So, but it was just a shock to my system. All of the first bag, the duffel bag with your name stenciled on the side of it, and I picked that up, and it just, holy cow,
man!
Now I know where he went. He went to SOG. Like my friend had told me, a couple of days before, don't volunteer for SOG. You're a dead man walking if you do. And then, here's Stacks all of a sudden.
I'm sorry.
And I log on, and there's an email from Brian Bourgeois, who was in our company. And it said, "I'm sorry about Brett." And I was like, what? And I scroll down, and it was a forward of a newspaper article. And Brad, my roommate, tripod, he'd gone in the Marine Corps and finished TBI, or TBS, the basic school. He went to basic school, then infantry school, and he was down in Camp Lejeune, and he was rifle platoon commander, getting ready to deploy to Iraq. He and a bunch of his friends, including his best friend from high school and a fellow wrestler, Kevin McCann, they all met up and went to a North Carolina State football game for opening day, and they were tailgating, and a car came ripping through the parking lot, and everybody was throwing stuff at the car because they were speeding, and the car came to a screeching halt right in front of the Marines' tailgate. These kids get out, and altercation happens, and with Brett, they almost hit a little girl, and all the Marines are like, "Hey man, you gotta calm down. Like, you guys are driving like assholes," and they were obviously under the influence of something. And altercation breaks out, and Brett just wipes the floor with the kid and throws him back in the car. He's like, "Get out of here." And they drive away. Marines go back to tailgating. 30 minutes later, that kid walks up with a gun in his hand and fucking shoots Brett in the throat, kills him. Kevin McCann, his best friend, not a Marine, everyone else hits the deck. Kevin McCann jumps on the shooter, starts wrestling the gun away. Shooter puts the gun to Kevin's head, executes him. Shit. These kids get up and leave. It's gone. Not war. He'd spent every single day of my time at the academy. He was 2 feet from me. He held me when my dad died. Quite literally the most beautiful soul I'd ever known. The smile is like, would light up. It lit up heaven.
So your brother dies
At 5.
at age 5.
I'm age 5. He's 17. He dies on they went to a school in Chattanooga. They were on the rowing team. They were both super athletic, very artistic. I mean, they were like the most well-rounded guys. They're both brilliant, incredibly artistically talented. Like, I have my own creative talents. Like, I can't draw for crap. And they were both, brilliant, but also brilliant at math. Like, my brother Reed had a perfect SAT score. Just so well-rounded, incredibly athletic. They were on the rowing team, just good guys. And out of nowhere, David had a cardiac arrest and fell off the rowing machine right in front of Reed. So they were 17 years old, identical twins. They never had that separation that psychologically twins have to go through. And if you're not a twin, I don't even think I can understand what that feels like. But I've talked to enough twins now, and I've talked to Reed, 17. I think this is we're going into the 18th year since David has died. So he's now been gone longer than he was here. And I've spent enough time talking with Reed throughout that period of they were still one person. They had done everything together. And he watched his brother die in front of him. There were no defibrillators in the gym. There was nothing anybody could do. He was basically dead on sight. And it was Valentine's Day in 2007. And yeah, it was, I mean, that changes the family forever.
Do you remember how you found out?
Yeah, so it was Valentine's Day. I got a phone call from the school. And again, that's like my mom is so, I truly think it's one of the best things she's ever done in terms of raising us. She was so honest. There was no hiding anything, which I think in the world of helicopter parenting and trying to protect your kids and kind of putting them in this glass box, like that's become very abnormal, and people would look at our life and be like, why would you not shield them from this? But I'm very glad that she didn't. But it was just like, looked at me and went, David's collapsed. We need to go to like, put down your Valentine's. We were like having a Valentine's Day party. And we have to go. And I remember getting in the car and I had like the Valentine that I had made David. And I was just like 5 years old and holding it. Oh God, I haven't talked about this in so long. So I watched all of it. We got to the school as he was being put in the ambulance. We went to the hospital and I had like a nurse take me out as they were, talking about what was going on, and they had no idea what happened. I was wearing lime green clogs, and I remember because we were there until very late. I was walking through the halls of the hospital. I could hear my like Hannah Anderson clogs like clomp through the hospital hallways. It's like funny the things you remember. And they were in like a very dark, purpley room. And I have no idea what happened. They think it's some kind of like epigenetics of something, environmental happened. We have genuinely no idea at the time. Nothing came of the autopsy. We all immediately, especially Reed, we came to Nashville and went to Vanderbilt. They have one of the best pediatric cardiology programs in the country, probably the best. Did, hundreds of tests to figure out, was there any risk for Reed? And there was nothing. Nothing.
What did the Valentine say?
I think it was just Happy Valentine's Day, like, love Brett, to David with a little heart. It was a lollipop. It was one of those ones you get at the store where you have the little note that, like, sticks up on it. I still have it.
And on that coin, there is that picture on the back of a helicopter, which is from my personal time, which was Echo 4. We had a target. We had been in contact for 4 hours. The South Vietnamese helicopter pilot, Captain Tin, flew in, hovered for 10 minutes while we struggled through elephant grass to get to the helicopter. He pulled us out, and that helicopter had 48 bullet holes in it.
Wow.
And he got us back. We get back to our base at FOB-1 in Phu-Bai. I go up, climb up, say, you saved our ass, thank you. Come on into the club, I want to buy you a drink. He goes, I'm sorry, I'm flying home. My wife is holding dinner for me. Oh, yeah.
Damn.
Yes, sir.
Man, this has my favorite saying of all time on here. You have never lived until you've almost died. For those who fought for it, life has a special flavor that the protected will never know.
Amen.
That quote was written on the wall when I got to Afghanistan.
Really?
For the first time in the hooch that we were staying at. And I took a picture of it, and still to this day, it's my favorite quote.
When I first got to Phu-Bai in 1968, if you're really a cool Green Beret, you got a Zippo cigarette lighter. And I have that on my official FOB-1 cigarette lighter. That saying is on it.
What did it feel like when you got inducted into the U.S. Special Operations Hall of Honor?
I didn't know about it.
You didn't know about it?
No, I had lost my wife, my son. I was living in California. And the general called me. Look at his name now. and told me they were coming up with a program, and they were looking for names to submit. And he said, everybody kind of feel like maybe you would be the first one. And I said, well, I don't know much about it, but they flew me from California, where I was living, to, I think I was in, flew me to Tampa, might have been Tampa, I don't know. They flew me to Tampa, and Admiral Olson was a SEAL one time, and 'cause he's still a SEAL, like he's still a Marine. He's a nice guy, and he picked me to give me the first one. I didn't get the medal at first. They had to make this. Then they sent it to me in the mail. Then the Marines, this is the Vietnam medal right here. And this is the Commando medal, the Raider medal. So this is stuff all presented to me, and sometimes I forget to wear. I don't wear it all the time, but I thought I'd wear it for your show.
Thank you.
I wish my wife was here to see this, to see me sitting there with a famous guy like you.
I'm sure she's watching.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably is.
And your son, too.
Yeah.
Man, you talk about there was guys all over Iraq, there was guys all over Afghanistan that were in terrible situations, suffered through so much, and they sacrificed for what we have, and we have the opportunity, and that opportunity is based on the sacrifices that these men and women have made. And, you know, you asked me right before a break, or right as we took a break, you were like, you okay? And I said, yeah. And I did a podcast with a guy named Tom Fife. And Tom Fife was in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And he got a Purple Heart in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And I was talking to him, and we talked about World War II, and he got commissioned for Korea. And by the time he was in Vietnam, he was a battalion commander. And we were talking through the different types of missions, and all good. And I just was curious about, you know, what the operations were like. And I ended up saying, you know, well, how many casualties did you take as a battalion commander? And he got choked up. And I was sitting there watching him get choked up, and I was like, oh, this is 50 years ago. And he's getting choked up thinking about his guys. And that was a moment for me that I realized that's okay. And I think we've been told that there's something wrong with us, but there's not. Like, you get sad when you think about your friends, it's okay. You get a tear in your eye when you hear the national anthem, it's all right, man. And you sometimes spend a little too much time thinking about something that you went through, it's okay. And I think it's important for us, our generation of veterans, to recognize you went through some tough stuff. Think about it sometimes. It's hard. And that's okay, man. That's okay.
Thank you. You were looking for solar...
All the alien stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about the alien stuff.
Oh, God, people love aliens. All right, so I watched Avi Loeb on Joe Rogan. He was talking about Muamua, which is like this cigar-shaped alien vessel thingamabob that doesn't seem to be from our solar system, and it doesn't seem to be natural. And I was like, wow, this Avi guy is really cool. And he had something called the Galileo program. And so I reached out to Avi and I said, hey, you know, I'm a big fan. And, you know, I heard that you guys are doing some interesting stuff. Is there anything that I can help you with? And Avi's like, well, we've been tracking this one heavenly body, this meteorite that hit Earth in 2014. And we think it's from a different solar system because we did all the mathematical calculations and we figured out where it landed, roughly speaking. And we think there might be a chance that it's not natural.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I said, where is it? And they said, well, we got some data from the Air Force, but they won't give us the right resolution, but we have enough resolution that we think it's like, roughly speaking, 50 miles off the coast of Papua New Guinea. I'm like, okay, so what do you want to do? And he's like, well, we want to set up a sea salvage operation and go, find it. He's like, do you want to be part of it? I was like, do I? Fucking sea salvage operation off the coast of Papua New Guinea. This is going to be interesting. All right. So it was like a heist movie. We had like assembled this team of people, and we had this weirdo Air Force guy that went with us. And then we had this old sea captain who was like 87 years old named Art Wright, who was like the Navy's Find It guy. He found like Russian nuclear subs and all these other things. And he fought in Vietnam as like a captain in Laos and all these other things. So, he's just seen some horrible shit his entire life. It was crusty as hell. And then we had this guy from New Zealand, whose name will come to me in a second. He was like a famous submarine diver, and he was good friends with James Cameron, and he got into the Titanic a dozen times and all these things. So it was a really eclectic crew of people. And I put in the money, and a Netflix crew came down, and they actually shot a documentary while we were down there, and they're still working on it. So we also had a documentary crew that was led by a really unique director who was special. And then obviously Avi himself and all the Harvard scientists. And we got on this ship called the Silver Star. So we planned out the whole expedition. We flew out on my jet to Manus Island, and then we took off. And what we had to do is we designed this sled with magnets on it. And basically we had it fall behind the ship and sink all the way to the sea floor, 6,000 feet down. And then we dragged it. It's kind of like Spaceballs when they're combing the desert. They're out there. So just drag this sled behind the ship for 8 hours. Then you bring the sled up in a very dramatic way. And then you take the sled off. And then we had to clean the magnets off to see if we can find fragments from the meteorite that was there. And we did this for 2 weeks. And it almost became like a horror movie because we were like tightly confined on the ship. And because of the schedule, you had a polyphasic sleep schedule. We were running 24 hours a day to save money. Nobody was sleeping properly, and it was very high stress, and things kept breaking and things kept going wrong. And like the experienced sailors like Art, he would be super stoic guy. Like every morning go down at 5 a.m. talk, morning, Captain, morning. And I was like, I heard you were a rowing champion, and at 87, like how do you do that? And they all died. I mean, it's like he's a man of few words, Art. But then, Avi, he decided to stop sleeping in his cabin and sleeping instead in the common areas. And then, oh God, we nearly killed him because he kept turning off the air conditioner. It was like 120 degrees with the humidity because we're right on the equator and it's the middle of fucking summer. And for some reason, I don't know why, in the common area, which is the only place we can hang out on the ship, anytime he was working his laptop, he would turn off the AC and it would get just unbearably hot inside the area. So we go and turn it back on, then he would turn it off, and turn it back on, then he would turn it off. And like the first few days, we're all fun. After about 2 weeks on a ship, not sleeping properly, that motion and everything, we're like, do you think the world would miss Avi Loeb if he fell off the ship, But anyway, he was a good man. And what we ended up finding, because after we processed all the samples, we sent them over to Harvard and they analyzed them, that we found these spherules that are from a different solar system. So after analyzing them, they have about 5,000 times the concentration of beryllium, lanthanum, and uranium. And so what we think happened was that there was a planet that smashed into something and it broke open and its core was violently ejected. And then it traveled for 1 billion years into interstellar space, and then it ended up hitting the Earth.
Wow.
Which is, the chance of that is like so infinitesimally small. And we wrote a paper about it and it got published, and they want to do another expedition because now that they found those fragments, they think they know where the big pieces are. And if you find a big piece, you can use different types of analysis to be able to actually definitively know what solar system that it actually came from. But because, when these things fall, they kind of like the outer skin melts, and as it melts, they drop down and they form spheres, and then they sink to the bottom of the sea and they just sit in the abyssal terrain forever. But I think it's the first extrasolar thing ever recovered from the seafloor. So I was really proud of that. We helped design the sled and did all these things. And we actually designed 2 sleds, and one of them that I designed they didn't use. And then the other one with the magnets they ended up using. The one that I helped design was a sleuth box. And because I used to gold pan and I used to do the sleuthing for gold on riverbeds. And what you do is you have these riffles in it, and it takes advantage of the density mismatch between the sediments and the gold. And so you're saying, well, if it's alien technology or it's like a heavy iron or something like that from a meteorite, it's probably really heavy. It's pretty dense. So if that material is really strong and really dense, then it's going to be much easier to sort it out from sand that's on the seabed, right? And so if you use a sleuth box, just like gold panning, you should be able to filter it out. The problem is that we tested it off the west coast of the United States, like right off Washington State, because that's where the guys who designed everything was. And that was a radically different seabed than Papua New Guinea. So it kept getting clogged up and we couldn't end up using it. We were worried actually that we were going to break our line because we had this giant spool in the back, and you know, it has to have enough rope to go down 6,000 feet and also then drag this thing behind the boat. And we're like, man, that's probably going to break with some snapback and kill somebody. We should probably not do that. So we ended up just using the magnetic sled instead. But we had a lot of fun with it. Like, you know, the thing, you know, where they had that soundtrack from it, you know, dun, 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 dun. So we made a little video, you know, on Twitter of like the sled coming up in the middle of the night and like the thing song theme there, you know, because we say, hey, you never know, it could be alien shit, you know. And we never told Avi this, but my security detail and I, we said, look, if we actually find something alien, we had a whole protocol for how we were going to secure that and take it off the ship and take it to an undisclosed location to decide what to do with it. And only later did we tell Avi that we had it. We called it the touchdown protocol. And these were all like Green Berets that were with me. And I didn't have a SEAL at that time, but I really wish I had some Navy guys because the Berets didn't do as well on the boat as Billy would have done.
What are the face peelers?
Okay. So back in 2023, in the summer of 2023, in July, there was a series of videos that went viral on social media. And these videos were captured in the Peruvian Amazon in the region of Alto Nanay. And they featured a chaotic scene at nighttime in which the villagers were running around, screaming, pursuing something, and discharging their firearms into the jungle. And subsequent interviews with members of the community revealed that they had been assailed by these very strange people, beings, who were dressed in body armor. One of them said reminiscent of the Green Goblin from the Spider-Man movie, and that these assailants could fly, that they could hover a meter off the ground, and that they were impervious to gunfire.
How did she get into witchcraft?
Oh, Michelle. Yeah, so she got into this thing with Stan. She married Stan. Stan was, like I said, he was a really, really terrific guy. He was a really awesome guy. Good looking and you know, rode a Harley. I mean, first thing in the morning, the whole fucking neighborhood vibrated, and who wouldn't want to be married to a cop like that? So, and his tour that he had to do every day was Pacific Coast Highway in Huntington Beach. That doesn't suck, right? So, anyways, he left her, and she was heartbroken, and she went crazy, and she started pursuing alternate means because God had not worked for her. The God of the witnesses that she'd been praying for her husband to come back didn't work for her. And she, I had ran away from home and I moved up to Idaho, and I was living with her and her kids in a trailer, which was awful, just fucking awful. And she went to work one day and I started playing hooky from school because my nephew had told people at the school I was a martial artist guy. And the first day I got there, I got cold cocked. And I figured I'm not going to this school because I'm not going to deal with this every day. So I started playing hooky. I figured I would run away back to home. But one day I went back into where her bedroom was, and there was a candle that was on her desk that had melted. And it had some substance in the top of it, looked like moss. And there was a picture that was burnt in half, and it was a hex to have him leave the girl he left my sister for, who was a big blonde bombshell from a bar, and to come back to my sister, who was not a big bombshell blonde. And I'll be damned if he didn't come back.
Are you serious?
He came back. He came back. So I figured, wow, this has got to work. And I saw the book. It was just a little piece of paper. It was like, you fold it in half and that's a page. And it was like a 20-page booklet or something like that. And it had a couple hexes in there. And I tried 2 of them and they both worked too. So at that point, I had to tell my wife what I had done. And we started on the journey of trying to get the oppression, the demonic oppression that had happened to me by opening up my defenses and asking for, the Dark Prince to help me put a hex on somebody. That really fucked my life up. And it took years for us to get out of it because we were going to like San Francisco up to Filipino priests that would lay hands on you. And I had some Indian Rajas that would do cupping and acupuncture and crazy stuff like that.
What were your hexes?
Well, one was something that had to do with the guy that actually punched me at school. What happened was we went to school that day. Excuse me. We went to school that day, and the guy walked up to me and just slugged me. And he said he was going to see me after school. Now, we rode a normal school bus to one point, and then the bus stopped and all the kids got out for a smaller bus that would take us out into the rural area. And so we stop, we get out, and everybody circles around the 2 of us like we're going to fight right there. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, this is going down. So everything I'd learned up to that point, was going through my mind. And the second bus shows up, and we get in the bus, and we take off. And he's coming up to his house, and he walks through the walkway in the bus and elbows me in the back of the head as he's getting out. And I was trying to fit in, so I had a mouthful of Red Man, and I was trying to get into the whole chewing tobacco thing because that's what everybody else was doing. And when he hit me, I went, and I swallowed that shit. So I went back to my sister's trailer, and I got really, really sick. And I figured, that's it. I'm going to do something about this. So I looked through the book, and I found something that would do what I wanted. And I did that hex. And then there was another one.
What did you want to happen?
Well, I really don't want to get into it because I don't want anybody to be misled and try and figure out what I did and go down that route because it was a terrible deviation from what was good and right in the world for me. Of course, that power's out there. Without black, there's no white. But it was just for me. After that happened, I realized that I really don't want to talk about this. Really don't want to get anybody interested in it. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk about it to the degree that I'm comfortable with, where I know that nobody can be misled from it.
And then you did another one?
I did a second one, and that one was it was something when I had moved back to California already, and there was somebody that I wanted, and I was just, I was an ugly, redheaded, freckle-faced kid with short hair and sweat rings, and I didn't have any chance of being with this girl, but everybody in school wanted to be with this girl. So I figured, what the hell? I say that quite a lot in my life, right? And we were together, and then we weren't.
And it worked again. Wow.
Yeah.
So what is, I mean, I don't know much about witchcraft.
You don't want to.
What is the, in a snapshot, what is it? Is it?
Well, there is a understanding that there are black witches and white witches, that there are witches that do good. But witchcraft is still witchcraft. It's the use of the elements, and there's alchemy, there's wizardry, sorcery, electricity, magic. There's use of blood, use of spit, use of sperm, use of all of these things that are all part of what was created and being used in an unnatural way. So, For me, I when I walked away from practicing any kind of witchcraft, because I didn't practice it. I did it 2 times, and both of them worked. And then I went, this is bigger than I am, and I'm not going to mess around with this. And so wrote the song The Conjuring, and there was another song that was kind of along from that inspiration, from that experience. It was Bad Omen.
Wow. You started with Coke, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, but when I really, I went straight to crack when I decided that I was gonna drop off the face of the earth.
Go full time?
Yeah.
Did you, I'm just curious, did you partake in any drug use as a child?
Yeah, I tried everything, but I didn't, nothing stuck like alcohol.
Nothing.
Yeah. I actively sought out the thing that I thought was the most destructive thing that I could do to myself at that moment in time, beyond physically harming myself.
What was it that took you to rehab? What was it that made you want to get better? Like, what was the realization?
Finally, at the end, I mean, that was in 2000. I think I get my years a little bit mixed up, but that was that was a year after Poe's death, 2016, where I basically stayed sober and attempted to stay sober for that year period in which I was under the care of somebody, a professional. And the thing that wanted me to stay sober and clean is my family. Is that my 3 oldest daughters are like, they were my whole world, and I was an enormous, I was like a constant presence in her life, because for the vast majority of it, I was clean and sober, and I was not a user or a drinker in that I would ever kind of do it around them. I don't think that there are more than maybe a handful of times, and I can't speak for them. All I can say is this, is that I was a very present parent. And then all of a sudden I was gone. All of a sudden I was completely unavailable. And I don't think there's anything more traumatic that you can do than that. And so I always, or at least when I start to feel sorry for myself, be like, fuck, like, God damn, how lucky am I? How lucky am I that they still pick up the phone? Never stop loving me. I don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. But I have it. And it's an incredible thing.
It's a good way to live.
But here's the thing. We are all a victim of our algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you. And so am I. And I'm not like pointing the finger.
No, I'm aware, and I don't.
And that's
take
my
it that
story
way.
about the people that came up to me at the, screaming in my face. But there is a truth, Shawn, but who's benefiting? Who's benefiting from turning us all, at each other's throats? Of concocting this bullshit. I'll tell you that, to begin with, it's our adversaries. And then on the second, it's the people that really control these fucking things. And it's oligarchs, not political people. It is the people that control billions and billions and billions of dollars. And those are the people that are benefiting. 100%. Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg gives a fucking shit about any of this? Do you think that in any way?
No.
I mean, let me point this out.
I mean,
there's a whistleblower. You want to talk?
Just watched every single tech billionaire, oligarch, whatever you want to call them, literally switch from the Biden administration right into the Trump administration. They're all there. They were all bitching about Trump before.
But here's the thing. They hated my dad. What did we do? We brought in the whistleblower. We tried to, not we, I don't have anything to do with the fucking part of it. And I agree with you. Nobody's fucking held them accountable. If you really wanted to be able to hold the social media companies accountable, make them liable like everybody else for fucking killing little girls because they're driving them to suicide. I mean, they literally testified before Congress and the whistleblower and showed how they manipulated the algorithm to send our children into depression and suicidal states. And you know what? They didn't change it even when they were notified of it, and even when they became aware of it, and even when they saw that people were taking their lives, teenagers, kids. They did nothing about it. And we have the facts and the data and all of an actual witness testimony that they did this. What did they do?
Not a damn thing.
And did anyone hold them accountable? Anybody in Congress? You know why? Because the biggest fucking problem that we have in this country is money. Is money in our politics and money in our media. And that's nothing new. But if you want to find a common enemy, you know, I don't understand how they don't realize that people are going to pick up some fucking pitchforks soon, man.
Maybe they do realize it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe that's why they're building their bunkers and their billion-dollar yachts and their hidden structure. I don't know. But at some point, I think what I was saying before is that there is going to be this unholy union between radicals that both come to the same conclusion, is that no one can be trusted and everyone is the enemy and chaos is the only answer. Why did Joe Biden not demand the release of the Epstein files if it was such a big deal to Democrats?
I don't know.
The same reason that Joe Biden didn't demand that they drop the prosecution of me, because he didn't involve himself with the Department of Justice. Because as every other president before him, other than Richard Nixon, who resigned because of it, he didn't direct the Department of Justice to do one thing or another. Why didn't Merrick Garland do it? Guess as good as mine. I don't know. But I will tell you this, is that now we're here after we have an FBI director, a deputy FBI director, a attorney general, and several other people that are in his cabinet, and the president himself, who largely got elected through the energy of the people that wanted to have, for absolutely the right reasons, these files released, regardless of whose names were in it. And they haven't released it, and they fought it tooth and nail. And then they had to get legislation, and then they passed the legislation, and he said, don't sign it, or don't vote for it. And then he said, go ahead and vote for it. And then we have reports that there's, 100 FBI agents that spent thousands and thousands of hours of scrubbing his name from the files.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah. And now we can't trust anything that's going to come out. Yeah. And who fucking loses? The children.
I want to tell you something, but I don't want to offend you.
Yeah.
The thing that makes you look very guilty is the pardon. The pardon from, was it 2014 to, 2024 or
Can
whatever?
I tell you why?
Yeah.
Makes me look guilty? Is because I was found guilty. And that's what a pardon's for.
But it was a blanket pardon.
Yeah, because you have to be able to go back, because the charges stemmed from over 7 years ago. So they went all the way back to 2015 for my taxes. That's what I was charged with. It's now 2025. Those are the crimes that I was pardoned for, in which I pled guilty to not filing my taxes on time and incorrectly identifying business expenses as personal expenses as business expenses.
That is all it's for.
It's fucked up, and that that my dad gave me a pardon. You don't think that like really makes me like feel like fuck, like I'm the poster boy for that. I'm the poster boy for the elite son of the president who got something nobody else could possibly ever get. simply by the fact of his birth. No matter how much he fucked up, he got away with it. And to your point, you got these guys sitting here trying to figure out how they're going to fucking make ends meet to make it to the end of the week, and that are getting, just got pulled over by some fucking state cop that's giving them a fucking hard time. And they come back and they turn on Fox News or they put on the Shawn Ryan Show, and here's fucking Hunter Biden. Like, he got a pardon. He got something I didn't. It would piss me the fuck off, too. I get it. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But God, I hate. And I'm fully aware of every room that I walk in. You know, like, walk in with your guys, you know? And I see that you put together a team of people that are, like, they're buttoned up. From the guy that picked me up at the airport to, to Jeremy. Like, they're buttoned up guys. And I mean, you just get a sense in that. And I bet you they don't fucking think that I'm a decent human being before I walked in here. I know I walk into that room with the incredible advantage of incredibly low expectations. Because they not only think that I'm, a ne'er-do-well and somebody that's been given all of the advantages of the world and squandered them, but they also think that I'm sleazy on top of that, and that, I'm a part of the problem. And that's, and it is a beautiful thing to be given the space to try to give them a different impression.
What do you think they think now?
Oh, I don't know. I think that they think that I probably fucking talk way too much, and that they're thinking, when is he going to shut up? Because we want to go home and eat dinner with our families. I think that's what they're thinking at this point, is that I've just literally tired them out. I've submission by verbal diarrhea. That's what I think they think. No, I don't know.
You know what I think they're thinking?
What?
Motherfucker, we got fooled again.
One thing that I never, ever, single thing that I never doubted in my life was the love of my brother. Yeah. And he could beat the shit out of me, and I could, we were brothers. I don't know. We fought but never in my life, would ever doubt that no matter what, is that that he would jump off a bridge for me. Yeah, sorry. Jesus Christ. It's been 10 years. I'm still crying over it. But not bad tears. I promise you. It's I feel so incredibly lucky to have that relationship and still have it. I really mean it. I still have it. I mean, that's the one thing that I'm positive of, is that I am in my best moments, I'm fully 100% connected to that. And God, I mean, what a gift.
Have you heard of the Milgram experiment?
No.
So this happened in Yale. I'll give you the short version. 1962, I think. This World War II is over. These Nazis are on trial in Nuremberg, and these they're asked, like, why did you do what you did? And they're saying, I was just following orders. So this guy at Yale, Dr. Stanley Milgram, runs this experiment. Will people just follow orders? So let's say you a volunteer for this experiment. You respond to an ad in the paper that says, we'll give you a free bologna sandwich lunch voucher or whatever at the cafeteria and $20. So you show up and it says, we're doing a study on learning and the effects of punishment on learning. So
I think I do know about this. Is this the shock
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they've essentially got a guy in the room right beside you, strapped up to a machine that's going to shock him. And they sit you down at a machine, and your job is to read off some words. And when he gets a question wrong, you shock his ass. And then you move the shocker up, shock him higher voltage for every wrong answer. You keep moving it up. And at the end of this little shocking machine, it says 450 volts, XXX, danger, severe shock. 2/3 of the way through this shocking thing, the guy in the other room, you can hear him screaming, you can hear him yelling when you shock him because the thing's painful. He's an actor. He's not ever getting shocked. But 2/3 of the way through, he stops and he says, I don't want to do this anymore. I want out of here. I have a heart condition. I don't want to do this anymore. And you look back at the guy running the thing in the lab coat. The guy in the lab coat says, it's important that you keep going. The experiment has to continue. The experiment requires that you continue. And, well, you keep going. And around like the 400, 350 volt mark, the guy in the other room stops making all sound and stops responding to questions. He's not even answering the questions anymore. And you turn around to the guy in the lab coat. The guy in the lab coat says, any non-answer must be treated as an incorrect answer. Please continue. Keep going. And then these people would get to the end, this 450 volts, and they'd shock them. They're like, well, that's it. We reached the end. The guy in the lab coat says, please continue until you've read all of the questions on the quiz. So this guy they think might be dead in the other room. They're just keeping going at this 450 volts in the other room. So before the experiment started, these psychologists, psychiatrists got together and formed a hypothesis. And they said, who's going to go all the way? And they said 0.8% or 0.08% of people will go all the way. 67% of people went all the way.
Holy shit.
And they redid the experiment. They said, oh, well, there's an inherent belief of safety because it's in a college. They've done it in apartment buildings and basements and office buildings with college-educated people, high school-educated people, all income levels. About 67% of people will go.
Why do you think that is?
It's two factors. It's number one, our inherent obedience to authority or perceived authority. Guy's in a lab coat. I'm at this thing. The guy's in charge. The guy's tall. Whatever it is. If we perceive authority, that will kind of overrule us. If you go back to our tribe days, if I disobeyed my tribal leader, that means no food, no sex, and no kids, no DNA, survival. So that's a big deal. Second, and one that they didn't talk about, this is my theory, is novelty. So when something breaks from what we expect to happen, so like you've done a shitload of podcasts in here, but like if this wall started opening up and this was a garage door and you didn't know it until just now, you would freak out. No matter how much I kept talking, you would keep looking at that, right? Because it's brand new and it's unexpected. So when things happen that are new and unexpected, all of our focus is generated, which is the first part of the fate model. Anything new generates focus. So for our tribal ancestors, this is when they're walking past a bush every day, and one day there's a big stick that snaps behind that bush. All of their focus goes onto this unexpected new information. So in the Milgram experiment, this is a person responding to an ad they've never responded to, driving to a building they've never been in a situation they've never been in, meeting people they've never met, sitting in front of the shocking machine they've never seen before. Every single aspect of it was brand new, which maintained a ton of focus. So focus is, you can manufacture focus with novelty. Anything unexpected kind of breaks you out of your script and tells your brain to say, whoa, I'm not able to predict what's happening next. I need to pay attention. So like we have a little script for driving our car. And the moment something unusual happens, all of our focus kind of drifts back. This is when we can drive past our exit or stop sign or whatever. So I think that one thing that Milgram experiment does is it shows us how rapidly we can be compromised. And this is in like 25 to 40 minutes, you'll kill a stranger. The majority of people will kill a stranger in under 45 minutes. And 250 volts is enough to kill somebody, depending on amps and other stuff. That was 100% of people. 100%.
That was 100% of people.
Went up to 250, yeah. Which is terrifying. But it shows us that we're all running the same hardware, and it's easy to hack. And the more we're aware of what's happening around us, and like, this is probably leading me in a certain direction, why am I feeling this way? The more aware we can be of that stuff, we can be a little bit more in control. We're never fully in control because we don't have the antivirus stuff in our head.
What are the others? I mean, what would some of the other signs be that you are in the midst, of a psyop? I mean, first thing you said was people being silenced.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. What are some of the other signs?
Brand new and unexpected things happening, like the drones in New Jersey, right? So let's go back to the fate model, focus. So is something new and weird happening that's capturing my focus? Are there celebrities tweeting about it and people that are high up in the government talking about it? There's authority. Am I seeing large groups of people start talking about this one thing? Or am I being made to think that a lot of people think a certain way?
Mm-hmm.
There's tribe. And then am I getting called to action and getting installed with this new identity that makes me feel intellectually or morally superior? And there's the emotion. So is that little fate model, is that being targeted somehow? And most of my income comes from jury selection and consulting on trials and stuff like that. And the one thing that I teach attorneys is, if you want to persuade an entire jury, the only thing that you've got to do is capture their focus, have more authority than the other attorney, foster a sense of tribalism and us versus them. And when you say the word us, you get the jury to think of you and them as one unit, and then get some kind of emotion in there during your closing arguments or during one of the depositions, and you'll win the case. I have a 200% money back guarantee when I do trial consulting.
Wow.
And it's easy to do if you just know how to trigger all those responses in the human brain. It's not hard to hack.
What the fuck is going on in the world?
Well, there's a spiritual war underway, which I didn't take seriously enough, and you can't understand anything that's happening unless you understand that.
I leaned out. Just like we were talking about this. I just had to lean out. I can't tell what's real anymore. We talked about that on your podcast. It just keeps getting fucking worse, and I'm just looking for, I'm just looking for something that I can have an impact on, and it's getting hard to find.
Well, it's hard to gauge the impact of really anything because our timeline is totally distorted, and at least I'll speak for myself. I always think that if I say something that's true, it will have an immediate effect. And there is a kind of vanity to that. Like, can't anyone hear what I'm saying? Like, I already showed that's a lie. Like, why aren't you adjusting your behavior? And it's like, well, because I'm not God, actually. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm a podcaster, which is important to remember if you're me, because there is so much vanity. People are always like, oh, it's so important what you're doing. And it's like, really? If I was doing something useful, I guess we wouldn't be here, would we? And that is so frustrating that I opted. We had the song Conversation, wonderful, which I wish was on tape because it was so deep. But I know.
Don't worry, everything on Breakfast is recorded.
But no, I mean, I know the feeling so well. And you were saying, I can't even deal with this. I don't want to deal with it. And I said, oh man, in June, after the United States government bombed the nuclear facilities to really no effect, let's be honest. I was so frustrated and disappointed and mad that people aren't listening to me. I kind of retreated, and I live in a place where you can retreat to our fishing camp, which I sincerely love, but really its signature quality is its remoteness. It's not near anything at all. And we did have Starlink put in a couple of years ago, so you could text from there. So like, why wouldn't you go there on all your off hours with your dogs and just like live alone in the woods? So I literally did that. And then in September, Charlie Kirk was my friend, was murdered. And with the encouragement of another friend of mine, I began to realize that what I was doing was totally self-indulgent. And we're not here to enjoy solitude in the woods or enjoy our fishing camp, the fruits of our labors. It's a very cheap fishing camp, but still it's like so close to my heart. And what I really love about this country and my life is being in the woods. So, but that's not why we're here.
You know, when you're building this shit, you sure as hell don't think you're going to look back on the times that you were, before you even thought about building it, and go, those were simpler, better times. It makes me fucking sad.
You can always be sure you look backward and consider time that has passed simpler and better. That's just the nature of life. You will always look back. I look back on the 80s and I'm like, damn, I corresponded with my girlfriend by letter. You know, how great that was. I just think that's the way people are. But I think of it this way. It's like, and I think that's not just of myself, but of everyone around me. The more blessed you are, the deeper your obligation. That's just true. The point of leadership is to protect the people you lead. I don't believe in a flat society. I'm not a populist in any way. I believe that no structure, beginning with the family, works without leadership. And so I think a lot about what is leadership, and leadership is sacrifice. And so the more you've been given, the deeper your responsibility to sacrifice for others. I really believe that. And that's obvious when you're working hard toward a goal. You know, I'm putting everything into what I'm striving to achieve. You know, I'm fighting my way up. The problem for men, and so few men actually achieve this that it's almost never talked about. The problem for men is getting what you want. The problem is winning. That's what destroys you. The fight doesn't, I mean, you've been in real fights, obviously. Like real fights, I happen to know. Not just with others, but with yourself. And you prevailed. That's way easier than winning. Winning is what destroys you. David was not intimidated when he picked up the stone against Goliath and then ran up and beheaded him. The problem set in when he sees this girl and he's like, I can bang her. I'm king. He destroys himself. That is the template for the way that men are. And no one tells you that because, again, there are so few people who actually get what they want. And there's no support group for people who won. But I know a lot of them. I know that you do too. And a consistent theme in every story is the second I got what I wanted, I could feel myself starting to self-destruct. And let's say, you know, your life's goal was to help Black people, which I'm not against. It's a fine goal. Help Black people. How long would it take you, if you really wanted to help Black people, to get to the solution, defund the police? Like, you would never arrive at that solution because obviously defunding the police is not going to help Black people or white people or Asian people or any people. It's not going to help people. Make the police better maybe, but get rid of the police? Like, how does that work? How is that possibly going to wind up improving anybody's life? And of course the answer was it can't. And it didn't. But it was never going to. So I watched that, and of course I'm opposed to it, you know, for the normal conservative reasons. We need police! But even the fact that we were having that conversation was a signal to me that this is a very different thing than I'm used to. This is people advocating, and not just like the underclass. By the way, Black people played no role in that conversation at all. No one ever asked Black people what they thought. It was just like 8 of their designated representatives on MSNBC were like, I'm a Black person. Here's what. But no one actually asked Black people what they thought because no one cared. The point was never to make anyone's life better. It was to destroy the country and the people who live in it. It was purely destructive. I really brooded on this because I had to write the script every night. So I was like constantly in my head thinking like, what are we watching? Don't be distracted by the bullshit. Like, what is this? And I concluded, because there was no other conclusion, that the point was destruction. That was the point. So I have always thought since I was a child that it's a binary. There are creators and destroyers. A synonym for this is good and evil. God creates, his opponents destroy. God created the earth and the heavens. His opponents destroy them. It's that simple. I mean, it's complex in many ways, but fundamentally it's that simple. It's creation, destruction. And I've always been for creation, always. I believe in procreation. I believe in impregnating women. It's awesome. I believe in building cabins. Awesome. I like to create. I like what my dogs have, puppies. So I saw this right away and I was like, this is not a political debate. This is a spiritual struggle, creation versus destruction. And that totally changed my life in every way. That really set off a chain reaction in me that changed me and changed my understanding of the world, changed my sense of my own purpose in the world.
How long have you been thinking this?
Since Memorial Day 2020.
What happened on Memorial Day in 2020?
George Floyd riots. And I'd covered, a lot of stuff and been a lot of places and seen chaos and stuff. And one thing that I have concluded that I just noticed as a kid, watch, a Katrina or in Iraq or in Pakistan where you see like things fall apart, is that everyone, was so scared of war and violence and all that stuff, but that the scare and oppression, I was always an Orwell fan, so I was like, Big Brother's the scariest thing. No, the scariest thing is chaos. Chaos is the scariest thing. Chaos. And then later in life, when I read the Old Testament, I was like, God brought order out of chaos. Of course. I didn't even know. I'm Episcopalian, so I didn't really know anything. But chaos, I just noticed it because I was in several times in the middle of what was chaos. No one in charge. Kids with rifles are in charge. And they have no goals. They have no program. There's no ideology. My whole life, I've been understanding history through the lens of ideology. There are these revolutionary peasants in Peru, and they're Sendero Luminoso, and they're revolutionary peasants in Vietnam, and they're the Viet Cong. And like everything was about like the idea. And what I didn't realize until I saw it in person was, no, it's not that. It's atavistic. It's much deeper than that. It's more primitive. It's more fundamental than that. It's the struggle in the universe is between order and chaos. And I'm on the side of order, not on the side of repression. Order is now a synonym for repression, which I hate because I believe in the human soul and the dignity of every person. But chaos is the worst thing. And I saw people in my country fomenting chaos for its own sake. I don't know if they're intentionally evil. Probably not. Most of us aren't. But they were tools of spiritual forces doing that. And I instantly recognized this was totally different from everything I've been covering and thinking about, writing about, talking about on TV for 30 years. This was a new thing. And that just changed it. When that chaos broke out in Minneapolis, I'm not from Minneapolis. I have no attachment to Minneapolis. Yes, there are a lot of Swedes in Minneapolis, or were. I think they've left. But I saw this for what it was. And I was so bothered by it that I actually went to the convenience store where George Floyd tried to pass the phony $20 bill and went to the site where he was killed and wandered all around by myself. I literally landed there, went by myself, didn't do a story on it or anything. I just want to see it. And what I saw was what I expected to see a year later. It was a year after it happened. In 2021, I went and I saw a place that had never recovered and never would recover. And that to me was proof of what I suspected, which was the point was destruction. The point was not rebirth. They always tell you it's rebirth. We need to tear it down in order to rebuild it. They never rebuild it because they don't want to, because that's not the point. And people who want to build, just go ahead and build. And people who want to destroy, go ahead and destroy. And they're in totally different camps. They're on opposing sides. It's literally that simple. Anyone who tells you we need to knock it down in order to build it again is lying to you and probably to himself. He may think that that's not his goal. His goal is to destroy, because Satan's job is to destroy you and everything around you, everything good, everything beautiful, everything orderly, everything warm and loving and fraternal, everything honest is to destroy. Destroy loyalty, destroy beauty, all the things that are virtues will be destroyed in that all-consuming fire of destruction.
Has anybody ever sang a song on your show before?
No.
I brought a guitar. If I could be so bold.
I'd be honored.
You want to hear it?
Yes.
It's called The Righteous Hunter. Evil runs around this town undercover, looking for a soul to take.
but they better stay away from the righteous hunter, or hell is all they'll pay. 'Cause I can see you around the corner, and I know you're coming. If you had any sense, you'd run. But you ain't got a clue what a daddy will do. Better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. Try to steal away our sons and daughters, shrouded in the shadow of night. But we fight with protection of the Heavenly Father, and we ain't scared to die. And I can see you around the corner, and I know you're coming. If you had any sense, you'd run. But you ain't got a clue what a daddy will do. Better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. Recall the words that Jesus said, better off with millstones around their necks, and we pray. Not our will, but thine be done. Bring an end to the reign of the wicked one. This we claim in your name. And I can see you around the corner, and I know you're coming. If you had any sense, you'd run. But you ain't got a clue what a daddy will do. Better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. Evil runs around this town undercover, looking for a soul to take. But they better stay away from the righteous hunter, for hell is all they'll pay.
That's it.
That is amazing. Do you know what I think?
What do you think?
We got one more thing, and then we're getting into it.
Oh, geez, what do you got, man?
I got a buddy at SIG. His name's Jason.
I got to report this gift, man.
That is a California compliant SIG Sauer P365 macro.
Come on, man.
I don't know exactly what makes it.
By the way, this is too cool. The fact that you would give me this.
You
can't
like
even
that?
Look this up. So you just want me to TSA to take this from me and my ass is arrested at the airport. I'm on to you, man.
Well, I got a buddy at SIG, and now he was like, you got to get a SIG in his
You can't
hands.
even make
His
this
name's
up.
Jason.
Brother, this is fabulous.